He comes out of the Christian nationalist movement, which I wrote about a decade ago in my book, American Fascist, The Christian Right and the War in America. It's a movement I know very well. I'm also a seminary graduate. And I think we've reached a very frightening turning point. I think that we've already seen an assault on civil liberties, on institutions, universities, the media that are tasked with maintaining an open society. That will now be accelerated. I don't take any of this rhetoric lightly. I look at it as three phases. First, we saw those who protested the genocide attacked as anti-Semites, although a significant percentage, 20–30%, were probably Jewish. That was a way to shut down free speech. Then we saw undocumented workers being targeted and demonized as criminals and all this kind of stuff as a way to build Trump's version of the brown shirts, this rogue paramilitary group, ICE, with all of these detention centers. I mean, the budget is now larger than all federal law enforcement agencies combined. ICE, these detention centers are not going to be exclusively for undocumented workers. And now we're seeing the radical left demonized to shut down individuals and organizations that dissent from the rapid consolidation of this police state or authoritarian state.
I want to go back.
Hey, he lays it out pretty succinctly, right? Okay.
Right.
We've got all these ICE detention facilities. We've declared Antifa a terrorist organization, right? It's just a matter of time before we start arresting American citizens and incarcerating them in these detention centers, right? He's basically building the concentration camps.
It makes
American
sense.
fascism.
It makes sense, Adam.
We're on the brink.
I don't know why you're making fun of this. It makes perfect sense. Okay. It's like when you buy a hammer and you're like, I bought this new shiny hammer. I have to use it on something. Okay. They're going to build these sparkling new alligator Alcatrazes. And they're like, listen, we took all the undocumented illegals, we put them in there, but now we ship them back to their own countries. They're just sitting there. They're crying out to be used. We need to put people in there quickly. Get Antifa, shove them in there.
Didn't Hitler go on and on about Jewish people long before he ever gained power?
He did.
Wasn't he openly giving speeches?
He wrote a book about it when he was in prison. Yes.
Yeah. Well, was he in prison for the beer hall putsch, where he basically got a bunch of business people together and at gunpoint tried them to mutiny against the government and put him in charge?
Yes.
That's how he got incarcerated.
Yes.
That seems like a far cry from January 6th to me.
It's a lot more on the nose, as the kids say.
On the nose.
Yeah.
That's the part of January 6th that's always missing for me, where he actually commandeers the military. Now, if he pulled out the military and started confiscating voting machines,
you'd be
I'd think
yeah.
Oh, this is pretty close to the situation in Nazi Germany.
Right.
But none of that ever happened. So hopefully Trump will stay on the right side of the law here. Although they're going out of their way to characterize him as doing everything illegally.
So, well, there were two things that this guy, and we're going to go back, I assume. I haven't seen this video. We're going to go back and watch. Are we watching this whole video, or you just want to show that one clip?
Oh, we can watch some more, but this video is so incredible because this is Scott Adams' two movies situations, and the two movies are we're getting to the climax of each of these movies, and it's pretty insane. I don't see how these two worldviews aren't going to collide in some fashion. So something has to give, right? Hopefully it's resolved peacefully, politically, with our words, not with violence. And
yeah.
But these two views of the world cannot coexist. They can't. It's impossible.
There are two issues in terms of what he was talking about. I would want to address. There's the Christian nationalism claim, and then there's the brown shirts claim. On the Christian nationalism front, I did see a clip. Now, I don't know, maybe Charlie Kirk was lying. Maybe there's other clips I haven't seen. I have not seen anyone produce them, but I did see a clip of Charlie Kirk arguing with someone who was on the right. He was doing one of his little speaking things, and there's someone asking him questions, and they were criticizing Charlie Kirk, saying, how dare you have gay Republicans be involved in your movement because being gay is a sin according to the Bible, and blah 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 blah. And in that thing, when Charlie Kirk was defending the idea of, he personally is not in favor of gay marriage, but was defending working with gay conservatives, he specifically said that we don't live in a theocracy. America's not a theocracy. And, you have to follow the Constitution. And he specifically said that, doesn't know why the speaker was so bothered by what people do in the privacy of their own home. So now maybe he's changed. I don't know what year that clip was. I don't know if any of his opinions have changed, but I did see that clip. I have not seen a Christian nationalism clip provided to me that would make me feel that Charlie Kirk was in favor of Christian nationalism, which, by the way, would mean, because it's kind of a nebulous term, would mean that you support the idea that America should be a theocracy that is governed by the New Testament and the Bible rather than governed by, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, separation of church and state, and all those things that America's been governed by for the last 200 plus years.
Yeah, part of the insanity in all this is they're making Charlie Kirk out to be something he's not. So there are obviously figures on the right who would jump at the chance for America to be a theocracy. Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, they're far more down that path. So
yeah, or even Jack Posobiec, who was on Charlie Kirk's podcast and was his co-host. I mean, he has made several comments about the only way to save America is to reestablish Christianity in the government. And you say, okay, well, what does that mean? It's kind of like, I don't know what that means, but all right.
Right. Yeah.
But again, just because Jack Posobiec said it and he was on a podcast with him, I don't think it's fair when Charlie Kirk has explicitly said the opposite of that. Unless someone can show me he changes his mind, I don't think it's fair to throw that at Charlie Kirk. I mean, obviously we do a podcast and we disagree on a lot of issues. So it's not fair for any of us to be held to the other person's positions.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just this things can deteriorate fast in my estimation. So while I don't think Christian nationalism is a remote threat at the moment,
yeah,
it depends upon, like, if things deteriorate into a one-party state, oh my God, Christian nationalism is totally on the table. But this is a situation where I feel like people are LARPing themselves into this. Like this guy here, he's like, he characterizes everything as fascism. Mm-hmm. When I mean, enforcing the law is fascism now, right? Enforcing immigration law is fascism. Of course, he's saying, look, it's not about the immigration law. It's sooner or later those detention centers are going to be used on American citizens. He believes that shit.
Right. Yeah. And I want to get to that because that's the second point. But just going back, to the Christian nationalism thing for a second, it's, Matt Walsh is it seems like Matt Walsh is trying to set himself up to be the destiny of the right in terms of like him saying the incendiary thing to rile up his side, but to just prove the other side correct in a very stupid way, in a very obnoxious way. Because Matt Walsh posted this on X. He said, leftists are enraged by the spectacle yesterday. You're talking about the Charlie Kirk memorial service. They are calling us Christian nationalists. They say we want to usher in a new era of Christian nationalism. They claim that we are more radicalized than we've ever been, and they're 100% correct on all counts. So he is saying that actually, yes, they, being the right, wants to usher in Christian nationalism into the country.
Right. Okay. So Matt Walsh is basically signing off on the idea.
Yes. Now, I watched the memorial service in its entirety.
Wow.
Yesterday. I did have it sped up, obviously, because it was like 5 hours, but I did watch it in its entirety. With the exception of like the end of Jack Posobiec's speech, there's like a bunch of speakers, like 20, 30 speakers, maybe. Majority of the speakers, totally fine, totally reasonable, standard memorial service stuff you would talk about, that you'd hear about. Some people, I think some people gave this weird take where they said that they kind of said that they felt uncomfortable because a lot of the talk is about Christianity. And I'm like, I'm not Christian, but I understand that this guy was very Christian and he, was killed. and it's a memorial service. Obviously, a lot of Christian talk is going to come up in the conversation. Like, to me, the people that feel uncomfortable people talking about their religion, even if they're government officials, is stupid, especially in this context. Like if they're talking about it in,
totally agree.
Yeah. Like if they're talking about it on the floor of Congress when they're passing legislation about how they need, God and the law, I'd agree with you. But at a fucking memorial service for a guy who was incredibly Christian, you should expect that talk. And I think it's weird I think it's stupid if people are like, oh, I don't like this. So most of the conversation, most of the memorial speeches people gave, totally fine. I didn't see really any problem with them. The only ones I saw kind of were like, oh, was, obviously Stephen Miller's was ridiculous, but he just seems weird. Like you just look into his face, he has that kind of that very vibe of like autistic evil person. I don't know what's up with him. He would be, I think the Trump administration would be much better with if he was just not included in it whatsoever.
What did you not like about that's one of the few speeches that I listened to, just because obviously everyone was talking about it, but
most of the people's speeches were focused heavily on remembering the good that Charlie Kirk did in the world and how their lives were positively impacted by Charlie Kirk. There, a lot of people would tell this is like a very classic thing. You see a memorial service. A lot of people would tell stories about how they were in some low point in their life, and Charlie Kirk would help them, their family, help them get through the times, and be very inspirational or literally provide aid in the form of money or medicine or emotional support, all those other things, and how he was just trying to make the world a better place. And that was the focus of, I'd say, like 95% of people's speeches, which is good. What do you expect? Stephen Miller's conversation was focused almost primarily on the fact that they're enemies and forces of evil that we must destroy. And our ancestors built this country, and our country is being invaded by some nebulous group of people. And it was all just so like fight, like evil, evil, evil. We must fight against some sort of great evil on the horizon without really naming or categorizing what this evil is, which kind of creates this like nebulous. Are we talking about foreigners? Are we talking about the left? Are we talking about Democrats? What exactly is going on here? And to me, bringing in such negativity and hatred into a memorial service that's not the place to have that conversation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I agree. There is evil in the world that we must confront.
Right.
That the world falls apart when good men stand down to evil.
Of course.
So,
but everyone
I do think we need a little bit of that.
Of course, but people disagree on what that evil is. And
but there are plenty of places where people do agree what that evil is. So I'm not sure that it came out clearly in Stephen Miller's speech, obviously, but I do think there is evil in the world that we need to confront. So
okay, but anyway, and then I didn't like Jack Posobiec's speech was fine till the end, where he started bringing in the whole like putting God and Christianity into the government, which is like, whoa, you're fine till this part. A lot of people didn't like Tucker's speech because Tucker in the beginning of it has kind of this weird. He compares Charlie Kirk essentially to Jesus, and how Jesus was killed, and how the Pharisees plotted against him, and he kind of uses language where he's describing how there's a bunch of people sitting around eating hummus, plotting Jesus's death. People interpret this as kind of like, is Tucker Carlson making an allusion to Jews plotting to kill Charlie Kirk? I don't know if that was the intention of what Tucker Carlson said, because the rest of his speech I thought was surprisingly fine. He actually did bring up that we need to fight the kind of the demons within ourselves and get over some of the lower impulses in ourselves, which I was pleasantly surprised to hear Tucker Carlson bring up. So I kind of don't really know. I don't have a strong opinion on whether he was trying to dog whistle to the Jews killing Charlie Kirk or not. And then that one part, I listened to all of Trump's speech. We played that one clip on Sunday. There's that one part that we played on Sunday, which I still think is really bad. But besides that one part, the rest of it wasn't really that bad. So,
yeah, people
I don't
jump
know.
to that obviously because it could characterize Trump as being evil.
Well, it seems like he had the prepared speech, and then Trump always does this. He has kind of the prepared speech, and then he like throws in things off the top of his head, and it seems like that was something thrown in off the top of the head. And it's interesting. It hit me very differently that I saw in context. it actually hit me much worse because now that I was watching in order, I had watched Charlie Kirk's wife come up, and she gives a very emotional, powerful speech about her husband dying, and she does that part that everyone talks about where she's says that she forgives the killer, and she's like crying when she's saying it, and it's like really powerful, and it's like holy shit. And it kind of goes into what you always say about how there's like this power in terms of the Christian meme of forgiveness and how important and powerful that is to society. And then it's not great to then jump to then Trump saying his comment about hating his enemies. Sort of, it's not a good follow-up, I should say, to that speech.
Well, the counterpoint on that is there are a lot of people out there who want retribution. And if those people feel they're not going to get any kind of retribution through legal means, they're not going to get justice from the state, which Trump to some extent represents the state at this point, they might act on it themselves.
Yeah.
So I could see Trump doing that as giving a little red meat to those people who might pick up a gun and go out and do something stupid themselves, which I think could be a good thing. So I think that's the counterpoint.
I think that's a good point. But I would say that I think that is, I mean, Trump did talk about how this person is arrested and is going to face justice, including hopefully he said, God willing, the maximum punishment, meaning execution. I don't have a problem with him saying that. And I think that would satisfy that feeling without the I hate my enemies comment. There's always this sort of thin line between justice and vengeance that I think humans and human society has to straddle uncomfortably. And I would prefer if the president was on the side of justice instead of revenge. So I think he could have accomplished it without making that comment about hating his enemies. But whatever. So my whole point to even bring this up is I don't think it was really fair for people to who claim they watched the memorial service to say, oh, this was, some sort of Christian nationalist memorial service. I didn't get that impression whatsoever. I think those people either were looking at it through a very biased lens, or they probably more likely they just saw clips of the most incendiary things. They probably just saw clips of Stephen Miller and Jack Posobiec and Trump and Tucker, and that's all they saw. They didn't really see like the whole thing. So I don't think it was fair to characterize it as Christian nationalism. And I think Matt Walsh is doing a massive disservice to himself and the right broadly to lean into that. I assume he actually wants that. I mean, he's been, not so subtly in favor of those things for a while now. But that's why, to me, is sort of just kind of playing the destiny of the right by making himself seem to be the extreme that the left will point to and say, aha, you're proving us right.
Yeah. So neither one of them are turning down the temperature, obviously.
Yeah.
Did you see the clip of Rashida Tlaib and Byron Donaldson on the congressional floor, like going at one another?
No,
Rashida Tlaib pulls out the fascist label once again, and Byron just fucking blows up on her. It's so cathartic. I put it in the watch together. We can check it out.
We can watch it. Yeah.
So this is what I'm talking about. I'm not. I really think there has to be some sort of ramification for these Congress people going around calling fucking Republicans fascist. And I think the voters and Byron Donaldson the way he blows up on her is great, because I keep thinking, like, all of his constituents must think this crazy woman in Congress is calling me a fucking fascist, and my congressperson is doing absolutely nothing about it. So hopefully this will get settled in that kind of way where people are just sick of it. They're like, no, I'm not going to take this anymore. Fuck you.
Yeah. Well, that's always the way. I mean, that's the way it has to be. And that was sort of the argument that is given, Trump is given for anything that he did wrong. It's just, well, let the voters decide, right? I think that's kind of what the Supreme Court sort of insinuated for some of these things. So
thank you, Chair.
As much as I find Rashid Tlaib
I brought
and
up
Ilhan Omar's and even AOC's comments despicable. Though there are some rules about that they can censure people for attacking directly other people with some sort of, personal statements. And I don't know what the criteria is at for that. But before we watch this clip, I just want to say regarding the second point that guy said about the whole brown shirts thing, this kind of came up in the soy pill conversation where it's like, okay, well, we have to fight against the National Guard in DC because it's really going to lead down some other further slippery slope pathway of, I don't know, National Guard throwing people in jail for political disagreements or, controlling polling stations, all these other things, right? I would need to see someone like when he's saying, okay, that Trump is going to like transform these immigrant detention facilities into throwing in Antifa people, and then that's going to transform into throwing like Democrats in, like that to me seems. I have to see that happen before I believe that is the plan, or I believe that would even be legal or feasible in our current situation. Before I throw my hands up and start screaming fascism, fascism, fascism. Like this early in the game, it doesn't seem realistic to me, or it doesn't seem like it's, even if you think it's going to happen, it seems like you're just crying wolf so early that even if it did happen, you basically have desensitized people to even be bothered by it when it does happen.
Yeah, and you're terrorizing your voters. You're literally terrorizing your voters. How are you not?
Well, that's the point, to get people to vote for the other side, right? Or to galvanize support against Trump.
This has to stop. This has to stop. I'm just so over this shit. All right, I don't know if this is exactly where she says the fascist once she says it, or I think we're pretty close.
They see. I don't understand why we're allowing that to happen, because I actually think it's going to hurt our communities. People are going to look at Washington, D.C. folks in a way that I think is going to be very painful, but also, I don't know, Mr. Jackson, I heard the stories. People didn't leave their homes. They weren't leaving their homes. Businesses didn't see people coming into, that's what we want in our nation's capital. Stay in your house, don't move, don't go anywhere, stay fearful. It's unbelievable that my colleagues continue again to eject this narrative and this rhetoric in regards to it. But I think it's important, Mr. Chair, just like in DC, home rule was one out of Black freedom struggle in the fight for civil rights. We can't be passive right now. So nobody over there should take anything we say so personally, as if we're attacking them. No, we're attacking a process. We're not attacking people here. And I think it's really important. We need to stand up against this fascist takeover. That's not a bad word. It's a fact. And here in DC and across the country, it is so incredibly important, Mr. Chair, that this committee does not allow rhetoric that defames or paints Washington, D.C. in a way that you all haven't really truly seen. You're just reading it. No, you're just reading it or something off of some.
Will the gentlelady yield to a question?
Yeah, I think it's really important.
Will the gentlelady yield?
No, I don't yield. I don't even have time. I can tell you.
Your time's expired.
It is expired, but Mr. Chair,
nice.
but you all live here, and you're not telling people the beautiful parts that you do see in our nation's capital. And no, it's just wrong how we're doing it.
Chairman, I think it's insane that the gentlelady doesn't have an argument, but she's going to refer to me and some of my colleagues.
Mr. Donald,
we were from the Third Reich. This is insane.
You're going to look at 14, 15-year-olds as a bunch of criminals?
It's insane. Do I look like a member of the Third Reich to you, Miss Tlaib? Is that what I look like to you?
You're the one taking your voting card.
Is that what you think? Is that what you think? Is that what you think?
No, that's unethical.
I think it's radical and I think it's insane. And I'll respect everything that you say. But to say something like that to myself and a lot of my colleagues is way out of line. It's way out of line. It's way out of line.
Regular order, Mr.
Way out of line.
Regular order.
That's okay. But it's okay, right?
That is not how it
It's
goes.
okay, right?
You hold yourself accountable before you talk about
Hold
Washington,
myself
D.C.
accountable. Hold your own self accountable. How about that? Hold your own self accountable. How about that?
Free D.C. and make sure you vote with your own voting card. Don't be giving it to somebody else.
Tlaib. All right, time. Chair recognizes Miss.
Wow.
Yeah, see, and the way she says it is so fucking condescending for her to say, oh, look, it's just a fact, okay? We're just talking about facts here, you fucking fascist. And the irony of her talking about rhetoric. Oh, your rhetoric is getting, the fascists, your rhetoric is getting too out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you. That's what I want to see more of. I want to see more Congress people lighting up on these people being like, what the fuck are you talking about? How dare you call my constituents fascist, you piece of shit?
I don't even know what she was talking. What is she talking about?
She was talking about the DC, the National Guard in
No,
DC.
no. I know that. But she was accusing Byron Donalds of like giving someone his voting card.
Yeah, I don't know.
What you're
I
talking
don't know
about.
what that was all about, but she
He's like,
immediately
you gave
went
someone
to,
else your voting card. What? Okay. I guess there's some story there, but I don't know what the fuck
she went hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, Byron Donalds for president. I hope he's running.
Isn't he?
Rashida Tlaib is insane. Look, all the squad has proven themselves in fucking sane.
Byron Donalds is a Florida man.
Yeah. Look, you're so lucky. You're swimming in sanity over there.
Okay, so this is what the AI says. It says in February 2025, Representative Byron Donalds faced criticism for allegedly giving his voting card to another person that cast votes on his behalf while he was in California for an appearance on Real Time with Bill Maher. Multiple reports at the time accused Donalds of violating House rules which prohibited this practice.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. So it was voting in the House.
The alleged
Voting on
ghost
some
voting
bills.
incident. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, and I assume if he did do that, you're not supposed to do that. And it's wrong, but I don't see how that's fascism. That would just be someone
That's fascism.
breaking the House rules and doing something shitty. That's not fascism. So
I can't. This is the best way to deal with it. Because look, there's no good way to deal with it legally.
Right.
But this whole shaming them into submission, I got to admit, I like it. Let the voters figure it out. Although Rashida Tlaib is probably in some kind of district that's way gerrymandered to the point where she can say whatever she wants. That's a big problem too. These gerrymandered districts, they just incentivize people to go insane.
Yes. Yeah, she's in Detroit, Michigan.
Thank you for the super chat, JMac. JMac for $100. New rule: Ace is not allowed to be in first place. It has been decreed. Chat is not a democracy. It is a monarchy. I have the crown. That is right.
Go. There you go. And look at this. Thank you, JMac. And look at this. Ace for 8 months. Being a Frugal Seeker says, Adam, I'm sorry I've been going way too hard at you. I still may have criticisms of you, but I went too far. I went from playing the villain to being one. Look at that.
Well, thank you. That is nice. That is nice of you.
That is great. Yeah. Ace, I'm glad you said it because I was about to say, like, I'm starting to get tired of, I think there's like too much negativity and too much insulting going on in chat. And I was gonna be like, listen, Ace, you can disagree with Adam or me, or anyone could disagree with Adam or me, but just disagree. Don't be hyper insulting. And
well, yeah, it does. It does intimidate It intimidates new people who come into the chat who don't necessarily. They're like, what is this place? It's hard for them to get a foothold if everybody's just being super incendiary. So a little bit of ribbing, I think, is appropriate, but
that's a great point too. Is because I've seen new people come in the chat and then they just get basically screened out by someone else in chat.
Yeah,
maybe it's been in a while, and it's just like, thank you for making our community smaller. So
yeah.
So again, disagreement, fine, but let's keep the schizoidness down to a minimum and the insults down to a minimum. At least the people that are engaged in the actual conversation. If you want to insult people that are not here, that's Well, actually, that's not true. Don't insult friends of the show either, even if you disagree with them. Disagree with them. Don't throw insults. Everyone just be kind. We need to be nice.
Yes.
We need to learn. Now is the moment for kindness in America. All right. Temperatures are too high here at the Sitch Show. We're going to try to calm everything down. We're going to try to calm people down.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we want to do. Just chill everyone out.
Yes. Now let's go back to the fascism.
Now let's go back to these people yelling at each other on the floor of the House.
No. I mean, let's go back to the guy saying that Trump is going to do the fascist take over America or whatever he's talking about.
Was he trying to shut it? Was he gaveling the whole time? I know he had
go back and listen to it if you want.
I know he had to have a huge smile on his face.
I think he gave up at some point. It's so funny because that was James Comer, and we've listened to so many of these House committee things, and he he always has this air of like, I don't know. He always has this like he's obviously sat through a million of these arguments. So he always has this kind of air of indifference to any situation. Like no matter, or like he like barely, it always feels like he's like half paying attention to what anyone's saying at any moment. He just doesn't care. It's like so tapped out, which I find hilarious.
She completely deserved it.
Yeah.
That whole this is where they're retreating to. You know, she said, look, don't get insulted when I call you a fascist. It's just a descriptive term, okay?
Right.
It's like, that is such bullshit. Like, you're lying to my face.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing this? Who believes that? Who believes that shit? It's so much more insulting when you just say, oh yeah, look, I'm just describing you as you are, right? Look, you're a fat, ugly bitch. Oh,
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm just describing you. It's just a description. Yeah, you're overweight and you're fucking, and you look like shit. What do you want from me?
Wow, look at this.
Yes.
Just a fact, right?
Yeah. You look like an elderly fucking dog that's about to die.
Jesus Christ.
What's up with your cross-eyed bitch face?
Oh my
looking
God.
at me?
I thought we were
I'm just being descriptive.
kinder and nicer
Look,
here.
I'm
going
just
forward
being
in the future.
descriptive here, okay? This is not
Okay.
meant to be an insult.
Oh,
you
of
stupid
course.
cunt.
Oh, okay. Wow. Interesting. So, thank you.
Just being descriptive, okay?
Right.
This
Thank you for the
isn't meant to
description.
insult you.
Of course.
Plus all your constituents. No, I'm just kidding. Never go after the voters.
I know. My read of Tlaib is that she actually believes what she's saying. It's retarded, but she actually believes it. I don't think she's just grifting. That level of like screeching, that feels like sincere craziness to me.
Well, why
Not
are
like a put on.
why are these people? Maybe it is because their bubble has to be even more insane, right? Rashida Tlaib
Yes.
probably gets 1,000 death threats a day, right?
Right.
So
That's a good point.
she feels like, oh my God, this is fascism, right?
Right.
She's getting every single racist on the internet sending her death threats.
Mm-hmm.
So she does think we're on the verge of fascism. This is the thing. We need to make it illegal to throw out death threats on the internet. I think death threats, I think
it
we
is
can all
illegal.
agree.
I'm
Is
pretty sure
it?
that's illegal. Yeah.
Well,
It's just that
it needs
it's
to be
very difficult.
enforced.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is like, how do you enforce it? So-
Well, you first of all, it'll take a while to find somebody, right? And it'll probably be difficult to find a number of people. Like if 10 people do it, maybe you find one. But
Mhm.
once you find that one, you make an example of them. You throw them in prison for 30 years. You say, look, here's what's going to happen if we find you. You're going to jail for your entire fucking life, okay? I think that would make an impression on people. I think people would think twice about it. They'd be like, oh, the chance of me getting caught is pretty slim. But if I do get caught, holy shit.
There was someone, I forget who it was. They were saying they're making some comment. I don't know if it was from like Marcus Aurelius or one of these old philosopher people. That's probably true. They were saying it's not the severity of the punishment that stops people from doing the crime. It's how likely they think it is that they will face punishment at all. That stops them from doing the crime. And so I think that's the issue, is that it's just
Oh my
it's too
God.
easy for people to hide it.
Oh my God. I don't trust. I don't know where that study comes from.
It wasn't a study. It was just some like philosopher guy saying it.
Oh, okay. Well, so then there hasn't even been tangible evidence on it.
Well, I don't know. I'm sure someone has studied that concept, but
Look, people.
Adam's like, no, hang him high, like a like, hang
no,
'em
I
high.
just,
Fine,
I
don't know
just
if it works.
the logic of it is, oh, I could play Russian roulette because the chance of me being actually shot by the bullet is so slim, right? Well, it is Russian
It's not
roulette
that
though, and you
slim.
will die, right?
Right.
Playing Russian roulette with a BB gun is different than playing Russian roulette with a loaded revolver, right?
Mhm.
If it's going to be Russian roulette with a BB gun, they're like, well, I probably won't get caught, and if I do get caught, it's like a week in jail. Okay,
That's true. That's a good point.
yeah. If they say,
yeah.
look, if I do get caught, I mean, literally, I'm blowing my head off. People are going to be less likely to do it.
Right.
Yeah, Russian roulette with a BB gun. Sign me up, Sitch. You want to play this weekend?
No, not really, but
Really? I've been shot with a BB gun a bunch of
Okay.
times. Look, it's nothing.
it's probably it's probably a combination of the two things.
The left wingers always go to this when you talk about raising punishments. They always go to this. Oh, well, the getting thrown in jail doesn't deter crime. And I think,
Right.
says who? What?
Well, no, I don't know if they were saying when I've heard people argue this, they claim, I haven't done any sort of data into any of this, but they claim that there's studies that show that the increasing the severity for certain crimes doesn't stop people from doing them, and because people don't think they're going to get caught. So that's why I think what does deter crime is not, you have to increase the severity. Okay, here's the way to conceptualize it. It's not increasing the severity, I think, that deters crime. It's if you increase the severity to keep the criminal in jail, because that person's going to go out and may probably do crime again, that deters crime. Or to keep people, from the whole cashless bail, that deters crime. Or if you give people no punishment whatsoever, so that the whole shoplifting thing where they would, they could steal up to $1,000 and then they just get let go again. Obviously that's going to incentivize crime. So
criminals aren't watching the news though. But I do think when they lowered
they hear from each other. They don't,
yeah,
they
exactly.
understand what's going on, yeah.
Exactly. So when they lowered the charges for shoplifting, right? Somebody shoplifts, they get caught, and they know the law from getting caught, right? They're like, oh, you can shoplift up to $1,000 and it's nothing, and you're out by the afternoon, right?
Yeah.
Immediately they tell all their friends, hey, you can shoplift up to $1,000 and nothing happens. So then everyone's shoplifting up to $1,000.
Yeah.
So that's a direct result of the punishment.
Of course. Yeah. No, that's
people taking incentives.
That's a fair point. It's the same thing with gang members getting underage people to do crimes because they know that if they get caught, they'll have less severe
Yes,
penalties.
exactly.
Yeah.
How fast do you think it'll spread as soon as we throw some guy in jail for 30 years for sending a death threat, for saying kill yourself to somebody?
Maybe.
Well, I don't know.
Have an impact.
I mean, it would be best if we
and internet anonymity, obviously.
Well, no, you don't. That's the thing. I don't think you should have to end internet anonymity. I think they should go through the investigation process and find the guy.
Mm-hmm.
If you get,
I think that's going to happen.
It's got to be better.
I think there is going to be an end to, not necessarily that everyone walks around with a digital tag saying who they are at all times, but that the government or your internet company is going to know who you are, which they kind of do for most people anyway. So I guess unless you're behind a wall of 10 proxies. So I don't know, maybe that is the problem. Maybe the problem is that they don't. I would be curious to see some reporting on this. If people who send death threats on Facebook or X or whatever, they're not behind their wall of 10 proxies, shouldn't the company be able to know who that is, send that information to the police, and they actually do something about it? And maybe you're right. Maybe the problem is they don't care because they just say, well, if it's not a serious threat, they just don't take it seriously.
It's a slap on the wrist. Yeah.
Okay. You changed my mind. Increase the penalties. Give them prison time. Give them prison
30
time.
years in prison.
I think people should get prison time for
no hard feelings,
threats.
but we have to make an example of you.
Right.
Start with Rashida Tlaib.
Now, to be clear, both of us are talking. I assume both of us are talking about someone saying I'm going to enact. Someone saying I am going to enact some type of violence against you, because obviously part of the problem, in Europe, is that you could say something that's not a threat, like the Graham Lennon, you should punch the trans women that come into your locker in the balls. You could some government could interpret that as threat of violence, when that obviously is very different than someone saying I am going to enact violence against you, an individual.
Yeah, it would have to be a clear threat.
Yes. Yeah.
People are already kind of walking that line.
Right.
Trying to say things that are obviously an implied threat. But yeah, we'll start with clear threat. We'll see where it goes. Society is always moving.
Mm-hmm.
have to run very fast just to keep up. Just to stand still, you have to run very fast.
Okay. Did you want to go back to that Democracy Now! Clip? Or is it worth
I mean,
delving the rest
sure.
into?
I hit the back button.
You tell me. You tell me.
I don't know if the back button will work.
This is Democracy Now!
Shirking from purging the society through violence of those individuals or groups who are blamed for killing. The martyr is a betrayal of the martyr. And that's...
I think we heard this part. I'll skip forward a little bit.
Being targeted and demonized as criminals and all this kind of stuff as a way to build Trump's version of the brown shirts, this rogue paramilitary group, ICE, with all of these detention centers. I mean, the budget is now sent from...
In Morristown, New Jersey, on the tarmac Sunday before boarding Air Force One.
Well, the problem is on the left. If you look at the problem is on the left. It's not on the right, like some people like to say on the right. The problem we have is on the left. And when you look at the agitators, you look at the scum that speaks so badly of our country, the American flag burnings all over the place, that's the left, that's not the right.
So that's President Trump before there was any evidence revealed. After Utah Governor Cox says we have to be very clear this is the work of one person. I mean, for example, when Timothy McVeigh blew up the Oklahoma City building and killed over 160 people, people didn't say they're going to go after white Christian men. But what about what Trump, what Stephen Miller is doing and saying they're going after leftist organizations, they're talking about flag burning?
Yeah. When was the last flag burning? I don't remember one. Well, it's all fictitious. They've already started going after these organizations, but this has given them a green light to lift all constraints.
I really hate these people because there is a legitimate criticism against a lot of Trump's rhetoric in regards to, I don't know if you saw it. I'm surprised they didn't play that clip because it was like a lot more weird. The clip of, you know, it was after Pam Bondi said that they're going to go after hate speech. And a lot of people, including people on the right, were like, what the fuck? I'm going to go after hate speech. And then Trump is like asked, you know, responding to some reporter. And he says that like hate speech is when reporters like hate him or something.
He doesn't
and
even
people
know
like,
what
I was like, yeah, it's like, wait, what? You're saying that you're going to go after like, what do you, like, what's going on here? Like, you're saying you're going to go after people like reporters that just don't like you? Like, what the fuck? To me, like clips like that are a lot more like, oh, like, what are we doing here? To like put that at criticism and stuff. But instead, we get these organizations like Democracy Now! Who are just so dishonest. And I saw one of the Crestines, I don't know, whatever the fuck their name is on X, also being so hyper dishonest about the Antifa thing, which is, you know, Trump is labeling Antifa a terrorist organization, which is true, which is 100% true. This is now, I haven't really been keeping up with them, so I haven't really heard a lot about them. I don't know what they're doing nowadays, but obviously 4 or 5 years ago, you know, they was very well known that people would dress up in, you know, black outfits, the whole black bloc shit. They get riot shields and garbage can lids and, you know, clubs and all this other shit. They go into street fights with people. They would try to set fires to things. They'd throw bricks at people. You know, they try to set up the autonomous zones during the BLM stuff. Like, those are people that are radical, far left extremists who are totally fine enacting violence in order to achieve their stupid LARPing ideas about having America be some sort of socialist anarchist country, and labeling those groups as terrorists is completely justified. Those groups should not be allowed to function. It's insane that we allow those groups to function for as long as we have. And this fucking gaslighting that a lot of these far left people or alt left people are doing, where they just pretend like, well, there's no such thing as Antifa. I don't know what this is. It's imaginary. It's fictitious. These people that are all dressing up in black, it's just your imagination. You just blink. You drank too much Benadryl and you're seeing the fucking Hat Man and the Antifa man in your house. They're not real. They're just scarecrows. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, they take over entire city blocks, and it's just like, oh, that's just your imagination. Of course,
Yeah.
This is totally fictitious. This isn't going on.
and we've seen, a bill was the Florida, what was his name, Best or Most, I don't remember this, in the House, where groups that supposedly provide material support to terrorism can have their citizenship revoked. Remember Tom Cotton, right after 9/11, wanted to prosecute or go after mainstream media organizations, AP, CNN, the New York Times, for using pictures, graphic pictures from October 7th and from the genocide. So the process has already begun. Universities such as Columbia have already capitulated. And CBS is about to be turned over to a rabid Zionist and Bari Weiss, if everything goes through. We've already seen that assault, but now...
Barry Weiss is taking over CBS? What? Is that happening?
That's
interesting.
I don't think he means Barry Weiss, but...
This...
Oh, wait, no, I'm wrong. It was Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss closed on a major role at CBS News.
Wow.
There you go.
Because I thought she was selling her company for millions of dollars.
Barry Weiss has spent the past few years leading the Free Press, a scrappy online media startup that was founded as a rebuke to traditional news organizations. Now she's closing on a leadership role at CBS News.
Yeah, and she's look up how much she's going to get for Free Press. I think it's in the millions. I'm certain of it. So that's a nice payday. I'm gonna go over to this other Democracy Now! Clip that's totally insane.
Any deal is expected to put the price tag for the Free Press at over $100 million.
$100 million.
Look at that.
Oh. There's this crazy lady that they bring in. I don't know if this might be the wrong clip, unfortunately. Damn it.
There was some story. I want to see if I can find it. It was like an X thread. That was pretty crazy. Oh, here it is. I'll send it to you if you want to bring it up after whatever you're going to show.
They had some person come in on Democracy Now! And explain away all of the writings on the bullets.
Oh, God. You're kidding me.
As not having anything to do with the left wing, all having to do with right wing and video games. And I was like, what the?
I mean, Democracy Now! Is just a complete propaganda organization. They're just, all they do is lie.
I can't find it in here. I'll see if I can find it, but we can move on to another clip. You want to watch some of the Shoe on Head?
No, I mean, it's like an hour. So maybe we'll watch that later. There was someone who did like a completely unhinged response to Shoe on Head's Charlie Kirk video, essentially calling Shoe fascist or whatever video.
Said, quote,
maybe we'll watch that at some point in the future. But I sent you, here's this interesting.
You had some articles, yeah.
Is it? Well, here's an interesting excerpt I sent you. There's a lady named Rachel Kleinfeld. And she says, I was misquoted by a reporter, and now I'm in the midst of a media storm. People who care about the real story should read here. A Reuters reporter. Now, remember, Reuters is supposed to be just an unbiased wire source that just tells it like
it is.
Tells
just
it like
the
it
facts.
is. Yeah, for other news outlets to be able to use as a source, kind of like the AP. A Reuters reporter misquoted me in a story about Charlie Kirk's murder, putting words in my mouth that pointed a finger at a particular group as responsible. The reporter had mixed up their own notes with my quote and reported what they found elsewhere as words I had said. I never mentioned a specific group or movements to Reuters or any reporter. I do not study specific groups, and so I don't comment on them. I would also not speculate about something as serious as to who committed a murder. Reuters realized what happened and tried to simply change the quote without admitting the reporter's error, like a 5-year-old who broke mom's vase and tries to hide the damage. When I learned what happened, I, in the Carnegie Endowment where I work, attempted to get Reuters and other outlets that had by then quoted the original misquote to print a formal retraction admitting that they had misquoted me. They eventually did, but far, far too slowly. Meanwhile, I was getting hateful messages from people who read the misquote and others who thought there was a cover-up. And then the Foundation for Freedom Online made allegations at my institution, the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, as supporting the censorship. They noted that, quote, it is considered good journalistic practice when a news website makes clarification, correction, or any other substantial change to its initial report for the authors to include a note informing readers that a change has been made. I very much agree. They then wrote correctly at the time, but not now, that, quote, no such note can be found in the Reuters report, making the edit look like an attempt to cover up misinformation than an honest correction, and infer the rest of their story. I am furious at the reporter in Reuters and their editorial slowness in printing retraction, which they should have done immediately. I also know that Reuters has an excellent reporters who do thoughtful, careful work on political violence and other topics. Carnegie also has thoughtful, careful scholars. Reporters and scholars sometimes make mistakes. The way to correct them is to publicly admit the mistake. Society needs to make room for honest mistakes for those who are trying their best, whether by a scholar or, in that case, by a reporter. Instead, America is letting far left and far right cancel culture win. Callouts in the public before a story is known, online mobs and sometimes offline violence, emails of unspeakable language, reputation destruction, job loss, and harm to valuable institutions is no way to run a society. And then they kind of continue. So it's just really disturbing. So incredibly disturbing that, you know, people will give some comment to a reporter about something, they misreport it. That person then gets hit with waves of hate, probably got death threats, and they were literally fucking misquoted by the outlet in the first place. And then when they fix it, they don't even acknowledge their mistake unless you fucking badger them to do it. It's really, I feel like so much of the corruption and problem in society is that people who make mistakes just never want to own up to them. Just want to double down, triple down, quadruple down.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Or hide the mistake because they just don't want to get in trouble. It's like it's all just very self-interested.
So unfortunate too.
Yeah.
Because someone who does admit the mistake immediately gets dogpiled, and there's no incentive to even admit the mistake. So
yeah,
and they're like, fuck you, we don't forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
You're lying anyway. That's the confirmation bias. They're like,
yes.
Look, it's already in my head that you are this evil piece of shit. How dare you ask me to update my software?
Well, yeah, it's a nice rationalization because it's like, oh, I don't have to admit I was wrong. I wasn't wrong. I could read your mind, and I knew what you were actually saying, you know, from the beginning. So, did you find the clip?
I found the clip, but I have to look at the transcript to see when she actually talks about the bullets.
Okay.
So I'm looking for that.
I'll read super till you find it.
Okay.
I guess I'll try. I don't know. Okay, here we go. Ace for $5 says, Sitch, being a fan of Dragon Ball Z Abridged, should understand that if Kirk followed this advice from Piccolo, he would still be here today. That advice being dodged. Wow. Terrible, Ace. There is I don't know if you saw this. There's a clip of Candace Owens, and she's like talking about how there's underground tunnels, and she's like, I'm not saying that a shooter popped out of an underground tunnel and shot Charlie Kirk, and that's why the bolt didn't bounce out of his, body and hit someone behind him. But I'm just asking questions, and it's so fucking weaselly and obnoxious, and it really, really gives you an insight into the conspiracy brain, the conspiracy personality type, where you have a situation where, Charlie Kirk is shot by one bullet. So, one entrance wound, right? They have the bullet. There's a video of the shooter on the fucking rooftop, jumping off the rooftop, throws the gun in the bushes. The police find the gun. It matches the forensics.
Yeah.
They find the bullets. It matches the forensics. The guy, admits to doing it in fucking Discord messages and text messages. They have that too. They find the guy. He's arrested. His family fucking acknowledged that, that he told them specifically that he did the crime. And still, the conspiracy-addled personality type of Candace Owens, or maybe she's just grifting on this and trying to get other people that are stuck in this, they cannot, and this is a personality type, it's a complete refusal to ever believe what is ever presented. It's a continual desire, need to just always find some sort of secret knowledge that is being hidden from the public, no matter how crystal clear it is that what the truth actually is.
Yeah, there's all of these convergent lines of evidence, and they're like, nah. And all of that is bullshit. Do you know how much work it would be to actually fake all of those convergent lines of evidence? Come on.
Right.
Can you imagine? You're like, okay, well, we have to hire his parents to turn him in. First of all, we have to hire the killer. Okay.
Yes.
The
Yes.
fake
yeah.
killer.
Right.
We have to
Right.
hire actors for his parents to convince him to come in. Right.
Mm-hmm.
We need an actor to play the governor of Utah.
And none of these people are ever gonna drop the dime that they were, in on some conspiracy or whatever. No one's ever gonna be able to find out that.
Why
this
are we
was, like, a
listening to
lie.
these people with
It's just-
schizophrenia?
God, it's so terrible. It's so terrible. I think Ian Carroll was whining about this too. This stupid fucking conspiracy. And I don't know, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Ian Carroll and Candace Owens are just like disgusting liars who know that they have an audience of people who have the conspiracy brain personality type or schizoids.
They
They're
have to.
They're
They
essentially
have to
just
know that.
they're essentially just abusing people who
Yeah,
are in
mentally ill
weakened-
people.
Yeah, mentally
Yes.
ill people or people in kind of a bad state of mind and abusing them for money, and it's really disgusting.
Well, I mean, it's better than convincing them to transition. So,
I guess that's true.
small.
I guess
small
that's true.
victories.
Small victories right there, right? So
All right, I think I found it here.
okay.
McKenna Kelly. Her latest piece is headlined, Bullets Found After the Charlie Kirk Shooting Carried Messages. Here's what they mean. Welcome.
Just to be so this, I don't know anything about this woman, but she's already written an article for fucking Wired. Okay. And now she's on Democracy Now! She wrote an article for fucking Wired.
Look, they need to know. This article says exactly what the Democracy Now! Audience wants to hear. So they're like, come on the show.
And it's funny because people were like, if you recall, what was the publication that published Taylor Lorenz' attack?
Was
The
it
whole Dark
Wired?
Money thing. It was Wired, yeah.
Wired, yeah.
So it looks like Wired could be just completely infiltrated by alt-left.
It
retards.
is, yeah. It's all the alt-left Nazis.
To Democracy Now!, McKenna. If you can start off just by explaining, I mean, yesterday also in the questioning of the FBI director, Kash Patel, there was this whole discussion about Discord, and he says that everyone that he was communicating with, apparently Tyler Robinson said on Discord, I hate to tell you I'm the one who did this. They're going to investigate all the people he was talking to. But Discord...
I can't wait. I
Yeah.
cannot wait. Well, who was in that Discord?
The deep web. Can you explain to people who are not familiar with all of this, and then what these messages, how they may have been misinterpreted and what they mean?
Sure. Yeah. So Discord has become a huge messaging platform, especially for young people. It operates similarly to Slack if you use Slack at all. So there's options to create a server, which is what your company would use, and then separate little channels divided into topics. So a Discord channel operates in the same way.
Okay, I'm going to go a little forward to where she
Yes,
describes.
we all
the
know how
bullets.
Discord works. Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Well,
Discord
we don't
is a
all know how
program.
Discord works, so.
Okay.
Be
not.
rooted in traditional extremism, but constructed from randomness and irony of online culture?
Yeah, if you even look at the documents that came out yesterday, the charging documents for Robinson, in the text exchange that they showed, these transcripts, he specifically notes that, like, I will die laughing or something like that if Fox News reads some of the memes that I have inscribed on these bullets. So all of these memes themselves are not inherently political. Hey, fascist, sure, that can be read, as maybe being a bit leftist. It can also be seen to be maybe ironic. And until we actually
It's just ironic, Sitch.
Oh my God. Oh
No,
my God.
she, all of them. They dismiss all of them.
Like obviously the whole woo, right? That's meant as a troll.
Mm-hmm.
Duh, fucking obviously. But the fascist catch, it could just be, listen, it could be ironic. They just happen to shoot a right-wing guy that people on the left think is a fascist, but it's just completely ironic. What?
Yeah. That's ironic.
Jesus.
get some idea of the communities that Robinson was involved in, then we'll get a better idea of what he ascribed to. But these memes are everywhere online. You would have people using them ironically, people using them perhaps, seriously, but we just don't have enough information to go off of right now to really make any real decision on what it is that Robinson ascribed
to. And can you talk about video game culture and the up and down arrows and how they are being misread, and how you talked about particular games they're from as opposed to a leftist ideology?
It can't be leftism. Let's nail the video gamers. Come on.
Right.
Let's throw the video gamers under the bus. Aren't those the racist piece of shits we've been attacking for 10 years now? Come on.
It's so annoying too. Like whenever I hear someone bring up, like, yeah, he had the Helldiver little arrows on it. Like, okay, there's a complete distraction from the motivation. Completely. It has nothing to do with fucking anything. It's like, great job.
Right. We should back up a little and hear this guy's intro into it, because
give us the intro.
He basically tries to do all the dismissing in the world here.
I found her original article here. Well, actually, when was this?
I figured you would.
When was this video? I think
it's from 8 days ago. So
okay, so this is actually really bad, because her original article on the subject
has already been changed.
Was on the 12th,
right?
And
oh my god.
That was when
everything came out.
Yeah, that was, and they even have the picture in the article, they have the picture of the guy, the Utah governor, doing his press conference is in the article.
Look at this old boomer leftist here who's like, oh, please give me a way that I can rationalize this.
Right. But worse than that is that this YouTube video that we're watching now, this is from the 17th.
Oh my God.
So they 100% knew by then that, he lived with a transgender boyfriend, and, that he said that Charlie Kirk was hateful and all this other stuff. So they 100% knew by the time that this interview was taking place what the person's politics were, or, had a strong certainty what the person's politics were, if you're going to even, give some level of vagueness to the whole situation.
Have you heard anything about them investigating the text messages perhaps being faked just to throw the scent off of the roommate being involved? Like the roommate was involved.
I've heard someone suggest that was not a person that sounded remotely credible.
Oh, okay.
But
I didn't know if it came from a mainstream source. I obviously heard someone say it too, but
yeah.
Who said that Tyler Robinson, quote, subscribed to left-wing ideology. Can you talk about this idea that Robinson's motives may not be rooted in traditional extremism, but constructed from randomness and irony of online culture?
Yeah, if you even look at the doc.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we came in.
Right.
So he's just basically saying, can't you tell us how this isn't leftist ideology? Please. Help us. Save us. Throw us a lifeline. All right.
God. I'm reading her article. She's going over the stupid, like, the whole... This is like it's so weird. It's very interesting when I interact with people, how the human mind is so desperate. It's so desperate to accept the information they want to accept. Because so I'm reading this article from The Wired. Bullets found after Charlie Kirk shooting carried messages. Here's what they mean. And like the first 10 paragraphs are about the stupid Helldivers 2 thing, which is so utterly
10
pointless.
paragraphs?
Well, I might be exaggerating.
Fucking paragraphs.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
It might as well be 10.
Yeah, first 7 paragraphs about the Helldivers 2 thing, which is completely irrelevant to the conversation about what their motivations or ideology was in the grand scheme of things. And yet, by spending so much time on that information, if someone reads the article who wants to believe that they're not left-wing aligned, they're going to read this and it's going to give them this interpretation of like, oh, well, they're just some weird internet person. It has nothing to do with ideology whatsoever. They just randomly decided to do this.
We need, they're going to walk away and think, not only do we need to ban guns, we need to ban these violent video games.
Right. Yes.
which is horrible. So did you see this? This beautiful, beautiful video of Megyn Kelly completely throwing Van Jones under the bus?
I did not know.
Oh, okay. So you're in for a treat.
All right, shout out to me.
To talk about Van Jones.
Now, we covered Van Jones the day before this happened, which shockingly, we were like way ahead of the curve.
Right.
It's funny because a lot of people watch that video late. Obviously, we have audience that watches our stuff a day later or a couple days later, and they were like, wow, this video really hits different after the Charlie Kirk assassination, because Charlie Kirk was assassinated the very next day. And I was wondering, where the fuck is Van Jones in all this, right? Where's Van Jones?
Yeah.
Van Jones kind of disappeared off of the face of the earth after he goes on CNN and calls Charlie Kirk a fascist, racist piece of shit, and he gets killed later that day.
Right.
So, but I thought obviously Van Jones is talking to attorneys because he's going to get fucking sued by the Charlie Kirk estate. So, but he resurfaced and made himself out to be instrumental in Charlie Kirk's life. Piece of shit. But I love Megyn Kelly's. She has some insight for us.
He came out on Friday with a nice story about Charlie. And as I'm sure he predicted, it's now getting even conservatives to say nice things about Van. Well, I'm not one of them. Not today. And I'm going to explain to you why. I'm just going to start back before the Charlie event. Let's go back to when my life blew up at NBC News. You all know the story. So I was twisting in the wind. All these newspapers were calling me a racist because I said, like the blackface Halloween costumes, they weren't like considered cancelable back in the 70s and 80s when I grew up. When did that happen? When did that change? It's literally what I said.
Isn't that crazy that Megyn Kelly got canceled for saying she was talking about some Diana Ross blackface Halloween costume that some girl wore and was canceled for. And she was trying to make the argument that, well, the girl likes Diana Ross. What is she supposed to do? It's like a celebration of Diana Ross.
Right.
Literally canceled for that. Cancel culture was crazy. I don't think she'd get canceled for that now.
True.
It's just mass hysteria is what we live through. And now everybody now is trying to completely ignore it. Like that none of that ever happened. What? Free speech. We're free speech warriors today.
That's the thing that caused the big controversy. And I got, quote, canceled for it. And people literally were calling me a racist for asking that question. So Van Jones called me. He called me in the wake of that. We'd always been friendly. I was on Fox, he was on CNN, but we've been friendly. And he said, Megyn, I just want to say what's happening to you is wrong. It's deeply wrong. And I want to see if you're okay. So sweet, right? Extra touching because this is a black man in media. And so he gets it. And he and I had lunch. I don't know, like we knew each other. Like we're friendly, if not true friends. And I was like, Van, this is so sweet. I really appreciate it. And he said, is there anything I can do for you? And I said, well, if you'd write an op-ed or an opinion or say something publicly, that would definitely be helpful. And he's like, I'll do it. I'm like, wow. And I remember feeling actually relieved because I had very few defenders, if any. I had a couple on the right, but nobody on the left. And
what a nice
a week
guy.
went by and he hadn't done it. I'm like, I was dealing with a lot at the time. He wasn't at the forethought of my mind, but I did realize it would be a helpful thing to have come out. And I followed back up with him, saying, just checking on whether that's happening. And he said, so sorry, but I changed my mind. I can't do it because I recently did a thing with Jared Kushner, and now I'm getting death threats. And the FBI says I really shouldn't put myself back out there because...
Who do you think the death threats were from when he did a thing with Jared Kushner? You think it was from the right or the left?
I'm assuming it's got to be from the left, right?
The left, of course. It's the fucking left. Exactly.
Yes.
So look, how can you come out and say, oh, it's the right, they're the violent ones. And you do a think piece with Jared Kushner and all of a sudden you're getting death threats? What do you think? This is so maddening.
Well, and also, like, what a coward. What a fucking coward. Oh, well, I'm getting threats, so,
Oh
eat shit.
yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Totally. Yes. He's like, oh yeah, the FBI is involved. Such a big deal. Some anons on Twitter, they said, kill yourself.
You know what he was working with Jared Kushner to do?
I have no
It was
idea.
the First Step Act.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
So people were complaining about that.
That's the prison thing?
The prison reform.
Prison reform. Yes.
Right.
Wow. Okay. Prison reform predominantly for the black community. What a fucker.
Mm-hmm.
Why would people? Oh, maybe it was right wingers then, right? They're like, how dare you let all those black people out of jail? Fuck you.
It probably wasn't. It's probably people just mad that he even did anything with Jared Kushner.
Well, yeah,
he had some sort of interview with him or a documentary with him or something.
Yeah, I listened to Van Jones's response on CNN, and Van Jones, they asked if he would have done the interview with Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk reached out to do an interview with him. She'll talk about it in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I'm not trying to platform anything. And it just makes me think, what? I fucking hate that you have to be conscious of who you're platforming to even have a conversation with someone. The left completely polices that like nuts.
I don't know if I could give a blanket statement on that. I think it depends on the situation.
Right.
Like, for example, there's this really weird thing going on right now I guess before I even get into that, there's like one of the examples is CNN and all these other organizations platforming Hassan. And the difference between, like, if they just have him on, talk about something that's fine, but they're whitewashing his reputation by not talking about the fact that, okay, well, this is a guy who's pro-terrorist, and they're not going to ask him questions about the fact that he's pro-terrorist and that he's a socialist and also other extreme views. And so if you have someone on your platform and you just make them seem like, oh, look, this is a totally reasonable person, I do think I think that's highly irresponsible for people to do that.
Totally agree. And I think obviously if you're going to invite on someone that's pro-terrorism, that's probably not a good thing. The problem that I have with the Van and Charlie Kirk situation is by saying you're not going to platform somebody, you're insinuating that they are pro-terrorism, that they are a rampant racist. And I just don't think Charlie Kirk applies. So I think it goes more towards denigrating his reputation. They're doing the opposite thing with Hassan, obviously. They're trying to rehabilitate his reputation.
Yeah. Well, and also if someone says like, well, I'm not going to platform this person, then that means, well, they're aware of some aspect of them, their beliefs that they don't like, which you think they would talk about in the conversation anyway, which would alleviate the problem of covering up someone's extreme views.
Yes.
And so, like, because another example of that on the other side was Russell Brand gave some fucking softball interview to Nick Fuentes. And Nick Fuentes has been involved in some sort of, month-long, year-long quest to sort of soften his image for some reason, because he wants to try to go more mainstream. And there's even a clip of him talking about, like, oh, I have to stop being so incendiary. I have to stop using the N-word because he wants to go more mainstream. And so that it's like, oh, that he goes on Russell Brand's podcast and Russell Brand just asks him a bunch of softball fucking questions. And I don't know, like, there's a lot of boomers that watch, Russell Brand or watch these people. They don't know who the fuck Nick Fuentes is. And they just say, oh, some kid who's just on. He just seems like he's got, good opinions about, not trusting the government.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, thanks, Russell Brand, you fucking piece of shit.
Can Nick Fuentes change? Can he turn over a new leaf? Or is he just...
And it's possible for anyone to sincerely change. This is not a sincere change. I mean, he even said it wasn't a sincere change.
Right.
Right. And he's been doing this for so long, it's hard to imagine that he would ever change without something, incredibly dramatic happening to him that would cause him to shift his opinion.
I'm more comfortable with throwing Richard Spencer like under the bus forever because he's so much older. And Nick Fuentes is just, how old is he? He's like in his 20s. So he's doing all this completely stupid shit when he's in his 20s. And for me, that's just like, I don't know. People do stupid shit there. I guess I did a lot of stupid shit in my 20s. I didn't go around trying to incite a race war or anything.
I guess. I mean, Hassan's only, I think. Okay, so
Hassan's
Nick is
in his
27.
30s.
Yeah, Nick is 27. Hassan is 34. So
Like once you're in
he's
your
older,
30s, it's time to be a fucking adult. Come on, let's be real here.
I-
How old is Nick Fuentes?
27.
27. Okay.
27
So we're talking,
is an adult. Okay.
no, 27 is definitely an adult. But
Yes.
obviously, he started off very incendiary
Right.
like 5 years ago when he was 22, right?
I think he started. No, I'm pretty sure he started when he was like 18. This has been something. This has been a message he's been pushing for a
You're
long
making
time.
you're making my argument.
Am
18-year-olds
I?
do amazingly stupid shit. I
Right,
don't know if I'm comfortable saying, look, a 18-year-old can never change. I mean, obviously you change a lot from your 18 to 30. So.
Again, as I said, like, yeah, I think you could say, okay, he could change. Anyone can change. Young people can do stupid shit. It just seems so insanely unlikely that he would ever change, considering all of his money and his reputation and his brand is based around this.
Yeah, that's a huge part
audience
of it.
that he's created.
That is
that
a
he
giant
seems-
part of it.
Right. And then he seems to sincerely believe. He's been preaching the same message for 10 years now. So,
Yeah. But I mean, you agree to some extent as far as the age thing goes. Obviously, someone changing in their 40s or 50s, you're like, that's not really, that's rare, if ever, does that kind of thing happen.
sure.
Younger people.
Right.
Younger people.
I don't know. There's a lot of people
are
that changed regarding the woke shit. Right.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, they change as soon as they get canceled. Fuck this shit.
mhm.
All right. Continuing.
Getting these death threats now, and so I can't say anything on your behalf. Okay. It's whatever. I said, no problem, totally get it, no worries, goodbye. Wasn't expecting anything from him in the first place. It was his offer. It was his to withdraw. But that is one of the reasons why what he's doing now around Charlie really stood out to me. So what did Van Jones do around the Charlie Kirk story? The Monday before Charlie was killed, which was the Wednesday, September 10th. So this is the Monday, the 8th. Van Jones went on CNN and attacked Charlie Kirk. He attacked him because Charlie had suggested that there was a racial motive, at least in part, in the slaying of Irina Zaratska on the light rail train in North Carolina. And the reason Charlie said that is because it had broken in the news that day that the murderer, who is black and Irina was white, said, I got that white girl. I got that white girl. It's on tape. And either Van hadn't done his homework or ignored it, if he did know about it, or stupidly wrote it off as meaningless. Either way, Van went on CNN that Monday night, 2 days before Charlie was killed, and attacked Charlie as a racist for concluding race may have played a factor in this murder. And here's what Van said.
Charlie Kirk to say, we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that, is just pure race mongering, hate mongering. It's wrong. Then he says that if something like that had happened the other way, there would be sweeping changes imposed on society. Where is the George Floyd Policing Act? It didn't pass. That we don't know.
I mean, we defunded a bunch of police departments, so that's a ridiculous statement to make. Like, nothing may have passed at the federal level, but there was a lot of fucking changes made after George Floyd. You have to be retarded not to know that.
Mm-hmm.
Know how to deal with people who were hurting in the way this man was hurting. Hurt people. What happened was horrible. Someone like Charlie Kirk, he should be ashamed of himself. No one mentioned the word race, white, black, or anything except him.
Okay, so that was factually erroneous, and it was a smear. It was defamatory of Charlie Kirk. He was wrong on every front. Everything he said there was wrong. Literally every word out of his mouth was wrong. And a day and a half later, Charlie was killed. For the record, while I was on the air covering the Charlie murder live on this program, I did say this is not Van Jones's fault. I was sure to point that out, and I maintain that position now. I do not believe Van Jones caused Charlie Kirk to get shot, but I do believe...
Isn't this great? That's responsible journalism right there.
Mm-hmm.
Such responsible journalism. She's like, he's a dick. He's a total fucking asshole. But look, he's not responsible.
Believe the collective leftist messaging around prominent right-wing figures is endangering them.
True.
From Donald Trump to Stephen Miller to Charlie Kirk and beyond. That is my firm belief. I'm sorry, but there's just too much evidence. I don't think my leftist friends are having to live their lives surrounded by security. Like I now am, like Ben Shapiro has been, like Michael Knowles has to, like Matt Walsh has to, like Charlie had to. I don't think they are. I don't want that for them. I don't want it for me or my friends on the right either. And constantly throwing around these terms, fascist, racist, Nazi, is not okay. It's not that you don't have the right to say it. It's not that you should be arrested for it. I'm not making an argument against the First Amendment. It's that it's irresponsible. You are pouring fuel into a cauldron of hate that has now gotten one of ours killed and our most prominent leader of the Republican Party shot in the ear as one of his supporters behind him died in the arms of his family. We're not screwing around anymore. So it's not okay to go out there without any evidence that Charlie is a racist. And in fact, when you don't have your facts correct, Van, and to call him a racist on the national airwaves, it was totally irresponsible of you. It was wrong. And you have yet to undo it. You have yet to undo it. So Van Jones, then, I believe, because I don't think Van Jones is a bad man, I think he's a coward, sees what happens to Charlie on Wednesday and clearly starts to panic because he's been in a very open fight with Charlie Kirk. And I believe that Van Jones thought people would turn it on him and say, screw you, you were saying terrible things, and he didn't want that bad PR. And I believe at some level, because Van is not a bad man, he genuinely, of course, I accept that he felt genuinely sad that Charlie was killed. But not so sad he would go out and say, I was totally wrong about everything I said about him. I wrongfully smeared him on CNN 2 nights before he died. He didn't do that. Instead, he comes out with an op-ed on the 9th of September, which was this past Friday. So, a week and a half after Charlie's death and a week and a half after Van's comments, calling him a racist. And he reveals to the world that, surprise, surprise, Charlie Kirk was a good guy. In this op-ed on CNN, he posts, the headline is, Charlie Kirk DM'd me, direct messaged me before he was murdered. Here's what he said. And he goes on to talk about the fact that Charlie messaged him the day before he died, September 9th, the day after Van Jones attacked him. Hey, Van, I mean it. I'd love to have you on my show to have a respectful conversation about crime and race. I would be a gentleman, as I know you would be as well. We can disagree about the issues agreeably. And Van marvels about this. He says, unfortunately, before I could even respond, Charlie was killed, seemingly assassinated for the words he's spoken, though the killer's motives are still being investigated. So even this past Friday, after the indictment, after we knew the mother said leftist ideology, pro-trans, pro-gay, the governor saying leftist ideology indoctrinated into it, the text messages with the we knew about the boyfriend, trans, furry community, the online furry connection. Even then, what we knew was on the bullet casings, he's saying the killer's exact motives are still being investigated. He can't let it go. He's got to still pretend it's a mystery. And the reason Charlie said, hey, Van, I mean it, I'd love to have you on my show, is because Charlie had said it publicly on his show. Charlie had tweeted it. Charlie had made it public that he was inviting Van to come on his show. It was not just in a direct message. It was just Charlie had gone over the top to try to get in front of Van with his message, please come on. You would not know that from the way Van is talking about this. You would think, he's like, my team brought it to me after he died. I was shocked. I didn't know, whatever. No, he was making it very, very public. It was a prominent news story involving you. And trust me, Van Jones definitely knows about his own media mentions. His behavior has made that clear. He goes on to say the following. It was not hard for me to condemn Charlie's murder immediately without qualification and in unconditional terms. That's true. In fact, Kirk's murder gives us all reason to come back to the table for dialogue. There's a rising tide of political violence that has already swept away his life and many others' lives from both the left and the right. Look what he's doing. No, it's your side. It's your side almost uniformly doing the violence and the killing against us. Own it. Acknowledge it.
I just wonder how much of it is. I mean, Van Jones probably gets a bunch of racist messages online constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how much of it is just each side's elites really only get a picture of the other side's crazies going after them constantly.
Yeah,
so it
that's
just
a good point.
makes this warped sense of reality. So for Van Jones, it's like, well, all the hate I get is from the right? It's all racists who are calling me the N-word and telling me I'm a DEI hire and all this stuff, right?
Right.
Although
That
I'm
is-
sure
Mhm.
you got hate on the Jared Kushner thing from the left, but obviously he's gonna forget that.
I mean, that is the issue. So many people wrongly, I think most people do, we all kind of fall in the pit of just allowing our personal experiences to guide how we believe the rest of the world operates, when that's rarely the case.
Yeah, of course. The media bubble sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always trying to break out of my media bubble. I want to see what other people are saying and doing. So
here's a. Well, I don't know. Is there more of this clip you want to watch?
no, we
or-
can stop.
Okay. I sent you. Well, actually, before you bring up the Trump post, so this is kind of a interesting thing. So, do you remember Ryan Ruth? He's the guy who tried to kill Donald Trump on the golf course.
Yes, yeah. There was
And,
some Ukraine connection.
Yeah, supposedly it seemed like he was motivated because he was like hyper pro-Ukraine, and he felt like Trump was not pro-Ukraine. That seemed to be the motivation. So today, he was found guilty of trying to kill Donald Trump today in court.
Wow.
And in response to the guilty verdict being read in court, he grabbed a pen and tried to stab himself in the neck to death.
No way.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
He
So they
tried to
read-
commit suicide in the courtroom?
Yes. This is why we need to have cameras in all the courtrooms. And I think it should be 100% legally mandated that all trials have to be recorded. Because I want to see that footage of this guy trying to stab himself to death. Now, he was stopped.
Oh my
Now,
God.
it doesn't say like whether he got a stab or two in, but they did stop him from accomplishing the task. So he did not successfully stab himself. to
He
death.
grabbed a Sharpie, which
Well,
turned
maybe
out
he grabbed
wasn't
the wrong
sharp
pen.
at all.
Yeah, right. He needed like the ink pen with like the feather tip that has that really sharp metal
Oh yeah,
point.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
Yes. So
He grabbed a highlighter, attempted to kill himself with it.
yes.
Of course, it just turned his lips yellow.
Right. He grabbed one of those. See, people misunderstood. He really had those like markers that you can smell. That
Oh,
smell like the
yes.
different like fruits that you got in like
The
kindergarten.
cherry marker.
And he just knew that if he was going to prison, this would be the last time he got to smell them. So he was really just trying to shove it up to his nose real quick to get a good whiff, and they misunderstood and they thought he was trying to stab himself.
Now he's on suicide watch.
Now
Now
he's
he's
on
in the
suicide
turtle
watch.
suit.
Yes, exactly. Other interesting thing about this, I didn't realize this. He represented himself in the trial.
Oh, I knew that was happening. I had heard
Okay.
that, and I was
Right,
like,
I
"Oh
didn't
my
hear
God,
that.
this has got to
Yes.
be good."
He was charged with 5 charges, including attempt assassination of a major presidential candidate, assaulting a federal officer, possessing a firearm and ammunition as a felon, possession of firearm with an obliterated serial number. It says that he faces the possibility of life in prison when he's sentenced in December. So, which I think he probably will either get that or something, 20 years
Good.
or something. So
Good.
now I sent you a Donald Trump post, if you can bring it up.
I brought it up, yeah.
Okay. Now, I don't know if this is related to that.
After getting to know and fully understand Ukraine,
Yes.
Russia.
Right. So I don't know if this is related to that whatsoever, or if it's just that Donald Trump had a conversation with someone. Now, this makes me cautiously optimistic. I have to be very cautious because I don't feel like this has definitely happened. Donald Trump has flip-flopped on Ukraine, Russia a lot over the last year, pretty consistently. So
is this a flip-flop in our direction?
It is a flip-flop in our direction.
Oh, didn't I say he was going to get bullied into adopting our position?
Well, this is a strong position, which I'm very surprised by. So we'll see if his position actually gets maintained or whether it's the Fall for It Again award.
Where's Paul? I want to see some cope in that chat.
So here is the post from Donald Trump. Trump said, after getting to know and fully understand the Ukraine-Russia military and economic situation, and after seeing the economic trouble it caused Russia, I think Ukraine, with the support of the EU, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form.
What? Make Ukraine great again?
Now, this is pretty crazy because up until this point, Donald Trump has repeatedly said that Ukraine has to cede territory, that Ukraine could not get, all of its country back, et cetera, et cetera. He says this repeatedly. So it's very interesting that now he's saying the opposite.
And he ended the post, "Fuck you, Putin," with a middle finger emoji.
Right. With time, patience, and the financial support of Europe, and in particular, NATO, which is interesting.
Yeah.
The original borders from where this war started is very much an option. Why not? Russia has been fighting aimlessly for 3.5 years, a war that should have taken a real military power less than a week to win. This is not distinguishing.
Why does he capitalize war? Why does he capitalize real military power? Why is that the name of a movie?
That's the mainstay of a Trump post, is there's just random things capitalized.
I mean, Russia is supposed to be capitalized.
Right.
Okay, but continue.
This is not distinguishing Russia. In fact, is very much making them look like a paper tiger. I don't know why paper tiger's in quotes. Yes. When the people live in Moscow and all of the great cities, towns, and districts all throughout Russia find out what is really going on with this war, the fact that it's almost impossible for them to get gasoline through the long lines that are being formed and all of the other things that are taking place in their war economy, where most of their money is being spent on fighting Ukraine, which has great spirit and only getting better, Ukraine would be able to take back their country in its original form, and who knows, maybe even go further than that. Look at that.
What? They're going all the way to Moscow.
They're going to take over part of Russia. Look at that. Putin and Russia are in big economic trouble, and this is the time for Ukraine to act. In any event, I wish both countries well. We will continue to supply weapons to NATO for NATO to do what they want with them. Good luck to all. Donald J. Trump,
look at that. He's like, we're not giving them any weapons. We're giving them to NATO, and whatever they do with them is out of our hands.
Right. So cautiously optimistic because Trump has flip-flopped on this before, but obviously this is a fantastic direction.
Now, you think he's doing this to avoid future assassination attempts? Is that why you brought up the previous story?
Well, I just found the previous story by chance.
Oh, okay.
Just now. But I don't know if it's connected or not whatsoever. It's just a little interesting coincidence because obviously that guy.
I don't think it is. Come on.
So maybe it's just a coincidence, but not related whatsoever. But this, I really fucking hope and I pray that Trump will actually stick with this feeling towards Ukraine, which I think is 100% true. He will stop listening to the Russian shills that keep feeding him misinformation about how Russia can, 100% win no matter what. I'm not 100% confident because a lot of those shills surround him and definitely on his team. And I feel like they nonstop chirp in his ear about this, but we will see. Maybe this is also in response to one of the stories that has been getting kind of drowned out, which is kind of crazy because of the Charlie Kirk assassination, is that Russia seems to have been repeatedly violating NATO airspace to test to see what NATO is going to do about that. So maybe this is
where's Destiny? Is Destiny on suicide watch here? Destiny was very pro-Ukraine, very anti-Russia. Now he has to come out and say, oh, Donald Trump has adopted a position I fully support. Where's peace go? Where's peace go at on this?
Well, I don't think you should be doing a victory lap
Where's
just yet. until we actually see some kind of consistency follow through. As I said,
Sitch,
Trump has
I'm
flip-flopped on this a
eager.
lot.
I'm eager to say I told you so. Okay.
I know you are. I can tell.
I want.
Okay.
I
Right.
want some I told you so's going out
know,
immediately.
Right. So we will see. We will see. I'll hope for the best.
Econo Boy still hasn't come out and endorsed Trump over his 10% takeover of Intel.
Right. Okay. I sent you a New York Times article. A short New York Times article I want to read. This is from Greg Lukianoff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He is the chief executive of FIRE, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. So he's been a very large advocate for freedom of speech. They were very vocal against the woke left freedom of speech infractions. In fact, we brought it up in the past, they actually had like a running counter of how many times people have been, trying to get speech or people canceled, especially on college campuses. And they would, monitor whether it was from left to right, or they'd have it like in a chart somewhere. Just so
they
kind
scored, they scored college campuses on how free speech they were, how good they were on free speech. So some of them got
Harvard
F
got a
minuses.
Big fat F. Yeah.
Did they really? Oh,
they
nice.
Did. Yes.
Harvard. They tried to make up for it as soon as the campus started coming out and basically going full anti-Semite. They were like, "Oh, this is our chance."
Right. It says they got a 0 out of 100. Abysmal was the rating given.
That's hilarious. That is an F minus.
Yes, there you go. Though they have some improvement this year. That was last year. This year, they've moved up from the bottom ranking of 0 to 245 out of 257.
Wow. Who's in last place?
I don't
Brown.
know, but they're slightly less than the bottom. So good for them.
All right.
And before I read this article, just a random aside. The other day, Sam was looking at stock information, and she was trying to use like ChatGPT to compile graphs and stuff. And I forget what she was looking at, some stock, and it showed that like the stock was like, I don't know, like 600 or 700 points or something, and then it dropped down to like 20. And I was like, "There's no way that actually happened." That's like an insane drop. And so obviously I look it up and that didn't happen. So just be aware, AI still fucking making shit up. Okay. The AI hallucinations has never been fixed and maybe never will. So be very careful.
I tried to ask it. I tried to get it to do the math on how much room all the comics would take up. So I would know if I had room in my spare bedroom. And it's like the easiest thing in the world. It couldn't figure out, oh, you've got to turn the box. What?
Right.
What kind of AI is this?
Right.
They're like, oh yes, that would make. I kept chastising the AI, like, how the fuck you don't know to turn the box? Oh yes, that would take up a lot less room. Thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's annoying too, because when you chastise the AI for doing something wrong, it never seems like it helps. Like
no.
they're forever stuck in like the original mindset or whatever you want to call it.
I've asked it, will you remember that you got this wrong and I corrected you? And it's like, no, I will not.
Right. Or sometimes it lies and says yes, and then obviously it doesn't. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Mine told me the truth, thankfully. So.
Right. It's called Everyone's a Free Speech Hypocrite. If you're a free speech lawyer, you face a choice. Either expect to be disappointed by people of all political stripes or go crazy. I choose lower expectations. I need to learn from this because unfortunately I think I go crazy when I just need to be disappointed and expect to be disappointed by everyone.
That is good advice for you. I have a very, I never expected this to happen anyway. So that's right. That is my attitude.
Right. Of course people are.
That's a good attitude. You're never disappointed, right?
There you go.
Look at the Trump tweet. It's a perfect example. I never expected that.
Right.
Now I'm ecstatic.
And then if he doesn't follow through, we'll just say, well, low expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
Again and again, political actors preach the importance of free speech only to reach for the censor's muzzle when it helps their side. If, like me, you defend free speech as a principle rather than invoke it opportunistically, you get distressingly accustomed to seeing the same people take opposite positions on an issue, sometimes within the space of just a few months. On the first day of the second presidential term, for example, Donald Trump signed an executive order titled Restoring Freedom of Speech and Ending Federal Censorship, castigating the Biden administration for pressuring online platforms to censor America's speech. Which there's something I'm going to read about that regarding Google and their response to the House Senate committee on whether the Biden administration censored them or not, or pressured them to censor themselves, I should say, which is very interesting. Last Thursday, Mr. Trump mused that when broadcasters portrayed him negatively, quote, maybe their license should be taken away. Or consider hate speech, the concept that was developed in the 1980s by leftist legal scholars like Richard Delgado and Mary Matsuda. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while now, or in the know, you might recall those names sound a little familiar. Richard Delgado and Mary Matsuda. Those are two of the largest names in critical race theory.
Ooh.
They came up. That's interesting that they developed the concept of hate speech. And it shaped the campus speech codes and so-called political correctness of the 1990s. Intellectuals on the right were quick to contest the idea of hate speech. U.S. laws does not recognize a general hate speech exception to the First Amendment and never has. Charlie Kirk rejected the idea of using hate speech rationales to crack down on free speech. Yet after Mr. Kirk's assassination, Republicans rushed to promise crackdowns on hateful expressions, deploying the same concept. Last week, Attorney General Pam Bondi vowed that, quote, we will absolutely target you, go after you, if you're targeting anyone with hate speech. When Mr. Trump was asked about this statement by Jonathan Karl of ABC, he said that Ms. Bondi was, quote, probably going after people like you, and that Mr. Karl's network, which last year settled a defamation lawsuit brought by Mr. Trump and paid $60 million for a form of hate speech. Critics of the idea of hate speech, including my organization, have long warned that the concept is so vague and broad that it provides a handy weapon to censor almost any opinion. Unfortunately, we have been vindicated on this point. Consider, too, the fight against so-called misinformation and disinformation. The Biden administration created and then quickly shuttered, following criticism, an advisory board on the Department of Homeland Security on the threat of disinformation. The Biden administration also pressured social media platforms to censor Americans who posted what the administration considered obvious falsehoods, including the suggestion, now considered plausible by a large assortment of mainstream institutions and experts, that the coronavirus originated from a laboratory in Wuhan, China. Today, the right is making the same mistake. The late-night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel included a line in a recent monologue suggesting that Mr. Kirk's killer was a Trump sympathizer, which prosecutors' documents seem to contradict. In the wake of the conservative outrage, ABC suspended Mr. Kimmel's show. That was an overreaction. If partisan wishful thinking were a regulatory infraction, few comedians or commentators on the left or right would still have a job. ABC said on Monday that it will resume Mr. Kimmel's show on Tuesday, which we'll get to see tonight what kind of response he puts out. It's possible that Disney, ABC's parent company, would have punished Mr. Kimmel on its own, but the Trump administration took the initiative. Before ABC suspended Mr. Kimmel's show, the chairman of the FCC, Brendan Carr, said during a podcast interview, quote, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. And then there's cancel culture. The right has long balked the use of social pressure to punish conservative thinkers by, for instance, getting them fired for their jobs. The rise in cancellations that began around 2014 was initially celebrated by the left, which it defended as consequence culture. Now comes the inevitable role reversal. A few days ago, Vice President J.D. Vance urged that those who saw people celebrating Mr. Kirk's assassination to, quote, call them out, including by calling their employer. I don't like having to make a case for human rights, such as freedom of speech, by appealing to self-interest. These are just supposed to be rights whose importance transcends one's personal needs. But for political partisans, it's often the only arguments that cuts through, so here's my practical warning. The weapon that you use for today will be used against you tomorrow. Using your opponent's nastiest tools don't persuade them to disarm, it inspires retaliation. Tit for tat, forever and ever. Free speech for me, but not for these, an all too familiar impulse in politics. But the point of the principle of free speech is that how we respond to ideas we don't like is ultimately not about our opponent's rights. It's about ours. So I don't agree with everything in this op-ed. I do appreciate, I think it's incredibly necessary for people like Greg Lukianoff, who are just as absolute as free speech as possible, to have organizations that are pushing for that and to forever be pushing the government in that direction, because I think it's very easy for governments to wade too much in the direction of control. I think they're kind of they're kind of incentivized to go down that pathway. So I do appreciate fighters like Greg Lukianoff and these organizations to continually, for any reason, push back against that. So I think that is fantastic. I agree with him on the element of the FCC and the government being involved I think that is dangerous. Where I disagree with him is at the end there about the trying to get people in trouble for celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. And I disagree with that because I do think that you do need to have a cultural enforcement mechanism. If you don't want the government involved, which I don't, you need to have some kind of cultural enforcement mechanism to shame dangerous, violent ideas, such as advocating for people to be murdered on the basis of their politics. And there's a line, obviously, and this is sort of the left kind of argued this with like the racism and all this other stuff. But I think the line is this advocation for violence. And I do see the Charlie Kirk thing in that realm. And I do think, depending on their job, if it's just some random person who owns, a business or they're a janitor or something, like who gives a fuck? But if they're a teacher or they're the head of HR or they, have some people under them that they have influence under, I do think it's totally fair to call that out to businesses to say, okay, there's a person who's advocating for political assassination, who's influencing children, influencing other people. And I think you should be aware of that. Do you want that kind of person in your work environment? Right? And I'm in favor of that. And I do think if I'm skeptical of the idea that if the right just said, we believe so strongly in the principle of freedom of speech that we will not try to get anyone in trouble for advocating for Charlie Kirk's murder. I'm very skeptical that that would have any influence on changing the alt-left's opinion or position on trying to get people canceled for the perception of being racist or whatever. I don't think that would influence them at all. Unfortunately, I think the only thing that might influence them is if there's a taste of their own medicine, and that gets more moderate people on the left to wake up to the fact that there is this going on in their movement and to actually hold those people accountable and stop the behavior.
Right. That is the problem with the cancel culture from the left versus a cancel culture from the right, because there's a dishonesty component going on in the cancel culture on the left. That is, I just want to say that is cancel culture. If it doesn't have any kind of dishonesty component to it, for me, it's accountability culture or consequence culture, which people are saying. People seem to understand that you can't, there has to be some consequences for doing insane, terrible shit that's nobody agrees with. So you can't just say there's going to be no consequences. The people that want there to be no consequences for anything they do, obviously they're going to call anything, any sort of consequence, cancel culture. But I don't think that's accurate to what is actually going on. And I've seen some people on the right mention this. Like, a lot of people are saying, well, they see cancel culture as going back to a joke that was inside the Overton window when the person made it, but now is out of fashion, and trying to act like they just made that joke yesterday, which that's obviously dishonest, right? There's a dishonest component to that. Or, as you pointed out, the people who perceive something said as racism. A lot of times they'll use the term dog whistling. Well, it's not technically racist what you're saying, but we all understand you're dog whistling, right? Charlie Kirk says something would have been taken care of differently in the 1950s, and they jumped to the conclusion that it's lynching, right? Mm-hmm. He says Ketanji Brown Jackson is a fucking idiot, and everybody says like, oh, he thinks all black women are all black people are low IQ, right? They jump to some conclusion that's not true. So this is what we were arguing about on Sunday. I don't know how you can adjudicate those truth claims. That's a giant fucking problem. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people who are engaging in that cancel culture. I think they know. They're like, well, that's technically not really racist what he said, but I think he's a racist anyway, so I don't care. I'm gonna pretend like it is and call his boss and whatnot. So
right,
yeah, a lot of bullshit like that going on.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would add is, I do acknowledge that there are a lot of people about the Charlie Kirk thing, a lot of people on the right who are attacking people for posts I don't think deserve to be attacked or fired or canceled. If you're a person who just said that you didn't really care about it, that's all you said was, I don't really care about this, you should not be fired for that. And there is it, or even I think even people that were making edgy jokes about it, I think that should be hands off. I think there's a very clear line between people advocating for political violence and people that were just apathetic to Charlie Kirk, or people that were just sharing Charlie Kirk quotes or these things.
Well, if they're a front face of the business, so I'm not going to, if their employer's like, oh, well, I don't want you making jokes about people who are politically assassinated and working here.
Yeah, if it depends, like if they're like, they have got the company name on their account and shit. Sure, obviously.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. But I do think you need to err, even though I'm in favor of people doing this for people that are advocating for violence, you do need to err on the side of free speech. 100%. And I do think there's a lot of people that are wrongly being scooped up in this. So,
well, the thing that's different for me is I look at the stuff like Gina Carano's a perfect example, right? I don't think Gina Carano's anti-Semitic. I don't think what she posted was anti-Semitic. I think obviously that was spun in that direction because people wanted to get her fired. The shit that I'm seeing now that people are getting fired over, there's no question what they did, right? It's not, no one is trying to spin their behavior, which was acceptable behavior, into something repulsive. What they did was repulsive.
No, but
right.
But I mean, I don't know, maybe I've seen a lot of posts where like someone would just quote something from that Charlie Kirk said. Now you would say, okay, well, they didn't provide the proper context, which is true. And then the accusation is, well, they're quoting it. They didn't say anything. They just quote the thing that he said. Well, by quoting this thing out of context, the argument is they're implicitly saying that he deserved to die, right? And to me, maybe that's what they mean. But to me, that strays in the territory of someone who is, woke, saying, oh, well, someone said something that I could construe as them being racist. Maybe, maybe not. It's not enough information for you to go and try to get them fired from their job or in trouble or something to that effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I do agree with you there. It's tough because obviously I think in those situations where they are putting those quotes out, I mean, it's clear what's going on. They are making excuses for him getting assassinated. So even that is completely clear.
I don't agree. And also I would say and this is why I said, I think it depends on what their job is. You don't even have to use Charlie Kirk, for example. I mean, if there's some guy who, as I said, is like a janitor and they're a white nationalist, because we live in America, like the janitor can have whatever fucking opinion they want to have. Right. That's what I'm saying. I think to me, it depends on their job. Now, if they're a teacher and you're like, well, are they going to, be unfairly in how they teach the class against non-white students? Or if they're, in some corporation where they have people under them that they have influence on those people, then sure, I think that would be relevant information.
Yeah, the context is super important here.
Right.
It really is.
So.
You think someone? What is the purpose of posting that? It's some sort of quote that makes Charlie Kirk look like a racist. A
lot of people it could be what you're saying. It could be to make excuse for the assassination, or it could be, because a lot of people on the left have been complaining about this, is that they said that people are trying to whitewash Charlie Kirk's opinions and legacy. Yes. And so they're just trying to point that out. There's a lot of...
Look, and I'm finding a lot of the quotes people are posting are cancel culture. There's something that he said that was spun in the direction that doesn't actually mean what the people are posting.
Right.
They're not actually posting a quote. Like Brianna Wu saying Charlie Kirk wanted to lynch trans people.
Yes.
Which he never said that.
Right. Right. And we talked about that. But as I said, I would interpret that. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. His comment, I don't interpret it him saying that trans people should be lynched. I do 100% interpret it as him saying trans people should be subject to violence. Whether it be forcibly being pulled out of a locker room or being beat up or thrown in prison. I do see it that way. And so this is where I say it's sort of where you have to err on the side of free speech, is that a lot of people will post things that they interpret one way, and it would seem inconceivable to someone else that they didn't interpret it in this other way, but they didn't. And I've done those things where I posted things and then a lot of people say, "Oh, why'd you mean this?" And I'm like, "I didn't mean that." And then after they say that, I go, "Oh, I could see how you would think that. And I should have been more careful with my language. But at the time of writing, I didn't interpret that. I didn't mean that." And I've seen people have the exact same reaction to things where I'm like, "How did you say this?" And they say, "Oh, no, Sitch, I didn't mean that." But now that you say that, I understand why you would be interpreted that way. So I do think we have to err on the side of caution here.
I am seeing a lot of people post Charlie Kirk at his best, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen Charlie Kirk advocate for violence in any way, shape, or form in any of these clips that people are posting.
Right.
So him advocating for trans people being beat up would be something completely new. This would be the first I've seen of it. So
yeah, but you have a, like, okay, you're saying like, I've seen a bunch of Charlie Kirk clips. So then I'm taking that context and putting it through the context of this statement to say, I have to assume that he means something else in this context. Right. Which, that's fair for you to do that, but obviously other people are going to look at it in different ways.
Yeah. He said that in the 1950s, someone would have just taken care of it. I think you can read that as someone would have just implemented a policy that there was going to be no biological males in the girls' locker room. They would have just put their foot down. They wouldn't have needed for someone above them to come in and make some policy. There wouldn't have to be some nationwide policy. They just say, well, at this school, we're not going to do that. The policy is going to be this. And it's not, we're going to forcibly remove people. It's just, it's not going to happen. People are not going to go in. There's no kind of violent component. So, but you're saying that you think there could be a violent component, which
I'm saying I understand your argument, and you're saying you haven't heard him call for violence, which is true. I haven't heard him call for violence.
Right.
So I don't know. I can't read his mind. If the way I would think about the statement is in terms of like what you're saying, I mean, I don't know why you'd go to the 50s or 60s. You could literally just go to the 80s or 90s if that was the question. It seems to me when I think of the 50s and 60s or earlier time periods, there is sort of a mentality of like, this is a time period where men were allowed to do what men needed to do. And then when you start to get into like the 90s or even maybe the late 80s, is where you start to get into like, oh, people have become softer, and, we're kind of cracking down on letting people, take justice in their own hands. That's how I interpret it. I don't know.
He elaborated on the clip. I
tried to find
it?
Like further context to it, and I didn't actually find it. If someone has a further context or explains what it means, feel free to send it to me. I'll be happy to look at it. But.
Well, I admit I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. It could be interpreted either way. So
right,
but I'm assuming he elaborated on it after the controversy because people were trying to get him canceled over this. So
sure.
Anyway,
okay. And then the last thing, and I sent you the Google response, which is kind of
yes, yeah. Oh my God.
So Jim Jordan had subpoenaed. He has subpoenaed Google, X, Rumble, Twitch. He's subpoenaed a bunch of all the social media platforms, basically asking them. It seemed like two main questions, which is number one, have you? Were you basically kowtowed by the Biden-Harris administration into censorship of any capacity? And also, has other foreign governments affected your role in censoring other people? And so Google has responded today, and the response is pretty interesting. So I want to go over it with everyone today.
Let's do it.
This is from Google. Yeah. So this is from Google. It says, this statement of facts is submitted on behalf of our client, Alphabet Inc., and its subsidiary, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. Number one, throughout the committee's investigation, Alphabet provided responsive information to the committee to fulfill its oversight responsibility, producing internal records and providing intensive testimony, including more than 40 sets of responsive documents and voluntary participation of 20 executives in transcribed interviews. So I don't believe that information has been made available publicly yet. Maybe it will, hopefully, but this is just sort of the the cover letter that they've made available to us. Alphabet is a collection of businesses, largest which is Google. Alphabet's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally acceptable and useful. Alphabet is committed to building helpful products for everyone, of course. And the company aspires to give all users the tools they need to increase their knowledge. The company is committed to doing its part to continue to keep the digital ecosystem safe, reliable, and open to free expression, which maybe we're a little bit suspect of that, but okay. Alphabet's design its products to work for everyone. Biased towards a particular point of view is not in line with the company's values or the company's business interests. Now, I don't believe that. I don't assume you don't believe that. I don't think most people believe that. It definitely seems like Google was heavily biased, at least in the past, towards the left.
Still hugely biased to this day.
Right. I mean, I remember it was from like 2018 or something, but I remember then we watched some like Google struggle session that on stream once that was about them.
Yes,
was it them
we
crying
did.
about Trump winning the election?
Yeah, it
or
was after they
something?
won the 2016 election and they all cried about how they should have done more to avoid it. And we were thinking, oh my God, they're basically having a strategy session on how they can make sure this never happens again.
Right. Now, I don't know. Maybe people have changed their opinion in 2025. A lot of people have shifted directions, but maybe they're just full of shit. Who knows? Alphabet's business model depends on being a useful source of information for everyone and a home for users of all backgrounds. As a result, Alphabet has a natural long-term business incentive to apply and develop its policies consistently and partially independently. Says the committee in its investigation. The company appreciates the accountability from the House Judiciary Committee led by Chairman Jim Jordan and his critical role in advancing the core American values of freedom of expression. The company has a commitment to freedom of expression. This commitment is unwavering and will not bend to political pressure. Now, remember, it's very weird that they say that because they're about to say the opposite in the next couple sentences. So it's kind of interesting. Transparency regarding government interactions with private platforms is essential for fostering public trust and upholding principles of free expression. The committee's investigation brought to light new information that enhances public understanding in this respect. The Biden administration Alphabet. The COVID-19 panic was an unprecedented time in which online platforms had to reach decisions about how to best balance freedom of expression with responsibility, including responsibility with respect to the moderation of user-generated content that could result in real-world harm. Senior Biden administration officials, including White House officials, conducted repeated and sustained outreach to Alphabet and pressed the company regarding certain user-generated content related to the COVID-19 pandemic that did not violate its policies. While the company continued to develop and enforce its policies independently, so they're saying that they did it independently, Biden administration officials continued to press the company to remove non-violative user-generated content. As online platforms, including Alphabet, grappled with these decisions, the administration officials, including President Biden, created a political atmosphere that sought to influence the actions of platforms based on their concerns regarding misinformation. It is unacceptable and wrong when any government, including the Biden administration, attempts to dictate how the company moderates content, and the company has consistently fought against those efforts on First Amendment grounds.
So they were pestering them, but I'm curious what they said.
Yeah. Well, we know
obviously people are pointing at Carr saying we can do it the hard way, which seems like a threat. So
right. Well, with Carr, we had, and it's very interesting with the Trump administration, everything is done very blatantly, it seems, and very openly. So we can see it. With this, now we know from the Twitter files back when it was Twitter that the process was that the government wouldn't come in and tell Twitter what to do. The process was the government would say, "Hey, Twitter, we think that this post violates your policies and we think you should get rid of it." Now, obviously, this could be interpreted as like the government kind of, hint, like you should do something or we'll do something. Like it definitely could be interpreted that way. And if that is the case, that would 100% be the government infringing on
coercion.
Coercion and stuff. I believe with Twitter, they said, according to the Twitter files, that Twitter went along with the government's request to take down posts about 50% of the time. To me, that would show that that Twitter didn't seem to necessarily be afraid of the government. If they're half the time they're telling the government to fuck off. I don't know if we have information on how many YouTube videos were taken down, because obviously if it was like 99% of the time or something, or 90% of the time, it would seem like YouTube was far more afraid of the government if that's the case. Or if it's only 20% time, then they weren't. So that information would definitely be useful to know. But it is interesting to me that YouTube is directly saying that this action by the Biden administration and any administration, but the Biden administration by name, is wrong and unacceptable. So, which that's good. That is definitely good that they're taking this position.
Is Carr going to do it the hard way now that Jimmy Kimmel is going back?
We'll see. But which, obviously Google could just be trying to suck up the Trump, which a lot of companies are doing at the moment. So
they must have some merger on the horizon.
Yeah. YouTube's mission is to give everyone a voice and show them the world. Every day, YouTube builds and improves tools that system empowers creators, blah, blah, blah.
I know what it is. Google is in the fight for AI with a lot of the big tech companies.
That's a great point. Yeah.
And Trump has the AI czar, David Sachs. So they're he's probably in their ear every day about, hey,
right,
how much regulation do you guys want?
Right. That's a good point. So here, skip down to 15. YouTube's content moderation approach to commandment of free expression. YouTube takes seriously the importance of protecting free expression and access to a range of viewpoints. YouTube's community guidelines and terms of service apply equally to all users, from private citizens to the most visible public figures, and to all types of content, regardless of the viewpoints expressed. So one thing I would like to be addressed, which is not addressed here, which I don't think Trump is going to get into, but I definitely think it is a violation of free speech, is that YouTube has a policy that I don't see any evidence has changed, which is if there is a big news event or something is labeled as breaking news or current news, the algorithm will intentionally suppress independent channels' YouTube videos covering that and push up in the algorithm mainstream sources of news that are covering that information. And that, to me, should be illegal. So,
right, they assume those mainstream sources are better moderated, but at the same time, you could have local sources that are closer to the event and have better information.
Yes, and it's all done automatically and algorithmically. And one of the most bizarre examples of this, and I remember talking about this back when I made videos many years ago, was when Joe Biden had that ad, and I figured this out by accident. When Joe Biden had that ad where he talked about the Fine People hoax, I tried to find it on YouTube, and I realized I couldn't find it on YouTube. I could only find other news sources talking about it. I had to literally type in the exact line of the ad to find the Biden team's own upload of the ad. That was the only way, if I put in quotes, the exact title of the video to find it. Any other search terms, that, like obviously most people are not going to know the exact title of the ad, any other search terms would bring me to other news sources talking about the ad. I couldn't find the actual ad. And so that's because the ad was listed as breaking news, and it was highlighting all these mainstream news sources, and whatever this account was, even though it was an official Biden campaign account, it had not been flagged for whatever it needs to be flagged for. And so the algorithm was hiding it, making it almost impossible to find the video. YouTube takes serious importance of protecting free expression and access to a range of viewpoints. YouTube's community guidelines and terms of service apply equally to all users. Said that the company has transparently evolved its policy framework related to COVID-19 to ensure space for further debate and discussion on the platform. YouTube never had community guidelines prohibiting discussion of the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic, it says. As publicly announced in 2023, YouTube ended several COVID-19 content policies. As of December 2024, YouTube retired the remaining standalone COVID-19 policies and allowed discussion of various treatments of COVID-19. So it sounds like they're claiming that their policies were about, according to them, incorrect treatments for COVID-19. So I could have swore people were getting in trouble for discussing different origins of COVID coming from a laboratory or from intentionally or whatever. On key issues of medical content, YouTube policies continue to evolve in line with dynamic environment. Health authorities have changed their guidelines over time, and Alphabet's policies have evolved as well. YouTube's current approach allows a wide range of content regarding COVID-19 elections. The reliance on health authorities in this context was well-intentioned. The company recognizes it should never come at the expense of public debate on these important issues. YouTube continues to enable a diversity of perspectives and believes creators should be able to openly debate political ideas on the platform. I mean, that's good. We'll see. I hope so. In June of 2023, YouTube sunsetted a policy to allow for discussion of possible widespread fraud, errors, or glitches occurring in the 2020 and other past U.S. presidential elections. No matter the political atmosphere, YouTube will continue to enable free expression on its platform, particularly as it relates to issues subject to political debate. Political debate and discussion are in the public interest, which is why YouTube expanded its approach to educational, documentary, scientific, and artistic content on the platform. In contrast to other large platforms, YouTube has not operated a fact-checking program that identifies and compensates fact-checking partners to produce content to support moderation. YouTube has not and will not empower fact-checkers to take action or label content across the company's service. So I feel like this is a somewhat dishonest way of framing it, because yes, maybe they didn't enable some third-party fact-checker, but as everyone knows, if you talk about certain things in your YouTube video, you do get the little box at the top. Maybe they got rid of it, but you used to get the little box at the top that says, like, you're talking about climate change, you're talking about COVID, you're talking about flat Earth, you're talking about whatever, and it would definitely pop up a little box that would, give you some sort of fact check on the whole topic. So
thanks. We just got hit with the flat Earth box.
We did, yeah. In contrast to other large platforms, YouTube has not operated. No, I read that one. YouTube has also been offering a feature on YouTube beginning in June of 2024 that allows users to add notes to provide relevant, timely, and understandable context on videos. The pilot is available on mobile in US and English, and YouTube continues to collect feedback on the feature. YouTube also features an extensive comment section where viewers can comment and share their views on content posted by creators. What is this notes thing? We've never done that. Allows users to add notes?
Notes to what? Your content?
Yeah, I don't know what they mean by that. Unless they just mean like putting a timestamp in the comment section or something. I don't know what that means.
Oh, maybe.
The company terminated channels for repeatedly violating its community guidelines on election integrity content through 2023 and COVID-19 content through 2024. Today, YouTube's community guidelines allows for a wider range of content regarding COVID-19 and election integrity. Reflecting the company's commitment to free expression, YouTube will provide an opportunity for all creators to rejoin the platform if the company terminated their channels for repeated violations of COVID-19 and elections integrity policies that are no longer in effect. So they're saying if anyone got banned for this, they're going to let them come back on. YouTube values conservative voices on its platform and recognizes that these creators have extensive reach and play an important role in civic discourse. The company recognizes these creators are among those shaping today's online consumption, landing must-watch interviews, giving viewers a chance to hear directly from politicians, celebrities, business leaders, and more. Transparency regarding government interactions with private companies is essential for fostering public trust and upholding the principles of free expression. Laws around the world affect the availability of content across Alphabet's products and services, and the company publishes data in its quarterly transparency report regarding content removal requests in an effort to inform discussions about online content regulation. So we should be able to see some transparency of how often the government has asked Google to take something down and how often they've actually done it. Theoretically. Governments and law enforcement entities make legal requests in an effort to moderate content according to their views, and their demands come with significant penalties for noncompliance. Alphabet has a track record of pushing back against overly broad or otherwise inappropriate government demands for user data and content removals, including objecting to some demands entirely. The committee has taken important investigative steps to highlight the onerous obligations under law, such as the Digital Service Act and Digital Markets Act, may stifle innovation and restrict access to information. These laws place a disproportionate regulatory burden on American companies, and the companies have long expressed its concern about the risk that the DSA may pose a freedom of expression within and outside of the EU. Depending on how certain provisions may be enforced, the DSA could be interpreted in such a way as to require Alphabet and other providers of intermediary services to remove lawful content, jeopardizing the company's ability to develop and enforce global policies that support rights to free expression and access to information. The DSA may open avenues for substantive regulation of lawful speech, including through risk mitigation, the use of codes and conducts and crisis protocols, and the out-of-court dispute settlement mechanism. Alphabet remains mindful of these risks and continues to be vigilant in its defense of its rights. So a lot of that is to say, we don't like it. We've pushed back upon it, but it's kind of vague. It's kind of vague what any of that means without actually digging into the specifics and the details about whether Google's actually doing a good job of that or not.
Best to keep it vague.
Right. In providing this information, the company does not waive, nor does it intend to waive, any of its rights or privileges, including and any applicable attorney-client work product, blah, blah, blah. It's just legal shit. So, okay. So that's just the cover letter. But so the really important thing to take away from this that is interesting is that Google is allowing people to come back that violated COVID or election misinformation policies they used to have, and that they did say, according to them, that they did feel that the Biden administration was pressuring them to get rid of COVID information regarding COVID, and they did not like that, and they felt that that was wrong for the Biden administration to do. So, interesting.
Did they say specifically what information it was? Probably just
they said just related to COVID, but they didn't say. Maybe the further details they gave were specific, but this just says related to COVID.
Right. They were trying to get everyone vaxxed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
If you, who was the guy that said it made his nut fall off? He was the rapper's cousin or something.
Oh, was it Doja Cat's cousin? I think, or something.
Something like
Doja
that.
Cat's cousin. Yeah. So people were like, "What?"
It was pretty funny. It made my cousin's nuts fall off.
Right. But I mean, if Google actually goes through with this will be good, because obviously I think it's bad if the government is pressuring these organizations to, police certain things that are not illegal and very dangerous. Now,
unless it's Rashida Tlaib.
Now, this will kind of leads to the question, which is, how do we solve the misinformation problem? Which I don't know the answer to that. As how do we solve the rampant misinformation that seems to be spread consistently on social media nonstop?
Okay.
What?
I'm laughing at what I'm typing in the chat, but I'm not going to say.
Okay.
J-Max says it didn't work on him. Didn't work on me, baby. I'm assuming that's the nuts falling off.
Oh, I think or does he mean that he just didn't get the COVID vaccine?
No. I don't know if J-Mac got vaccinated or not.
Right. Nuts still here. YouTube used to have annotations which allowed for notes. Yeah, do they still have that? I don't think they have that anymore. So, not that I've noticed, but okay. Sade Ray for £5 says, if Trump's January 6th plot had worked, would it be fair to call him fascist? I feel like trying to destroy American elections deserves some harsh title. So, I feel like I've said this like a lot. Fascism is a specific ideology. People just say it to mean authoritarian when it doesn't. If Trump's January 6th plot had worked, I think it would be 100% fair to say that was an authoritarian takeover of the government. But I still wouldn't say it's fascist because it's not within line of fascist ideology. So
I would call it a constitutional coup. I think if there is a misuse of violence or the military, I think that's where I draw the line. I was kind of thinking about it more after our talk with Soy Pill.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason people want to use this term fascist is because they want to imply that there's this violent component. But a lot of the things they're pointing to are not, there's no, he's going to make mail-in voting illegal. There's no violent component to that. That's ridiculous.
I think people want to say fascist not because of, violence is part of it. I think they want to use fascist because it equates to Nazis specifically.
Right.
Calling someone a fascist is calling them a Nazi without calling them a Nazi, because the term has been so overused.
But don't they want to use Nazi because there's this violent component of they actually committed genocide and
of course,
murdered their own citizens?
Yes.
Even the deportation of illegal aliens, they want to frame as violence against citizens.
Right. So, but going back to what you said, the issues, and I think you can make an argument, and it's true, that simply the act of Trump doing the electoral scheme, had it been successful, you're like, okay, is that technically authoritarian? Because he would have to, get Pence to go along with it. He would have to get the Congress to go along with it. You have to get the Supreme Court to go along with it. So is that authoritarian? I'd say, okay, it's fair. that wouldn't be technically an authoritarian process. It would be a coup, as you would say, a constitutional coup, or whatever we're going to call it. I think that the problem would then stem from that is if that had been successful, two things would have happened, which is number one, there would have been mass political violence against Donald Trump and Republicans. And I think it very likely would have had to have some sort of pretty severe crackdown on people's rights to prevent that violence, because I do think it'd be very widespread. Number one. And then number two, Trump would then have created a problem, which is the problem that you always bring up for anyone who is in those positions of power, which is if that had been successful, with 100% certainty, Donald Trump would go to jail when he was not president. And the Democrats would not rest until he went to jail after that happened. Assuming after that happens, he just had a normal normal 4 years and actually gave up the presidency. And so he would be obviously very aware of that. I think Democrats would be very vocal about doing this. So that would lead to some sort of further actions to prevent that going forward.
Yeah, it's tough with any hypotheticals because obviously the system worked. None of this happened. It was some bizarre legal theory that he tried to exercise that everyone said was crazy and nobody backed him up on. Right. If it did happen, if he did get support from the Supreme Court and it did go through, he ends up president, there's mass protest, and he calls in the military to crack down on the protesters and it gets violent. Okay, yeah, look, that's fascist.
Okay. I mean, it's not fascist, it's authoritarian. I don't know.
Well,
it's the whole point, as I'm saying, is fascism has an ideological component to it. Yes.
I honestly don't care about
If you don't care, that's
I'm
fine,
I'm using the term fascist as they're using the term fascist.
Gotcha.
They're using the term fascist, like you say, to mean authoritarian.
Right.
But I do think there is this violent component to it.
Yes.
That is the reason that they're using that term. And they talk about violence, but they always talk about how, the violence is right around the corner. It's not here yet, but it is here. We got to be on the edge of our seats. We got to be ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're pretty far down the fascist road if he calls in, because right now he's calling in the National Guard to help assist law enforcement with violent crime, right? Which the guys in blue are going to be all for, right? They're like, I joined this organization so I could clean up crime, do some good in the world, right? They're all in favor of that. But as soon as it's like, okay, well, you have to crack down on a protest because Donald Trump stole the fucking election. I mean, I'd like to think the military is going to be super conflicted over that.
I would hope, yeah.
Yeah. But if they're not, then I'm like, okay, well, welcome fascist America.
Right.
The thing that I don't like about the hypotheticals is that we never even came close to that. And the January, as much as the January 6th committees wanted to make you think we were on the edge of it, I think it proved the opposite, that we were way far from it.
Well,
Trump couldn't get anyone to join him on this escapade except for a few people.
Right.
And they're crazy.
Yeah, but here's the problem. I don't, if all the people that were in Trump administration now were in his first term, they all would have 100% probably gone along with it. It's hard for me to imagine. Yeah, of course. Okay.
Kash Patel.
Of course. Yes. Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, they all would have gone along with it. It's hard for me to imagine J.D. Vance
hiding
the
Epstein files is one thing. Okay.
You think that's hiding the pedophile sex trafficking ring is one thing, but this is a step too far.
Stealing an election.
Yes. Okay.
Stealing an election. That's interesting.
Right.
I honestly disagree with you in the fact that I think the reason Pence didn't do it was he had his own political future to focus on. Right. And J.D. Vance, it's 10 times, he has 10 times better chance at a political future. So, I mean, J.D. Vance might come out and say, of course I would have done what Donald Trump asked me to, so he can get the vice presidency and become an important, influential figure in history.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes right down to it, I don't believe for a minute J.D. Vance would be like, oh yeah, this is a great idea. This is a great idea for the future of America and my future as the next president of the United States.
I would hope that J.D. Vance would have enough integrity to argue against it at the minimum.
I'm not talking about integrity, just pure self-interest.
I understand what you're saying.
Pure blind self-interest.
Yeah. I listen, but here's the problem. In this hypothetical, there is no Pence as VP. It's just J.D. Vance. Okay. I think he probably would have argued against it out of pure, as you're saying, through pure self-interest, because he could see the writing on the wall. This is probably not going to work and it's a bad idea. But I think he's also smart to say, okay, if I don't go along with this and I go against Trump and Trump badmouths me, then I've just sabotaged my political career, which is exactly what happened with Pence.
If you go along with it, you sabotage your political career.
Well, it's kind of a no-win situation.
It is. It's totally a no-win situation, and Pence made the best of it he could. So, but I think J.D. Vance would make the same call in that no-win situation. That is a Kobayashi Maru right there.
It's
because you're going down with the ship, man.
But here, well, I don't know, because if you game it out, you say, okay, either option is going to screw me. If you do what Trump wants, if this is purely from like pragmatic perspective, you don't care about morals or whatever. If you do what Trump wants and it succeeds, it'll help you. If you,
it won't.
So there's at least,
how would it help you?
I'm just, because what do you mean? Because then Trump would go through with it, and then he would maybe endorse you to be president after him.
First of all, that is the first step. That first step is not. You're saying if it makes it through the other 8 steps.
Yes.
Okay. If it makes it through the other 8 steps, you honestly believe. So Trump is going to serve 4 years as a fucking stolen president. And you think people are going to vote for his vice president in after that?
So as I said, which you acknowledge, both of these outcomes are bad outcomes for J.D. Vance, because if he doesn't do it, Trump badmouths him. He presumably goes to the track of Pence and gets, sent to the sidelines. Okay, so we're assuming that outcome 100% is guaranteed that he's not going to have a political future. And all I'm saying is that there is a chance. It could be a slim chance, but there is some slim chance that if he goes along with it, it could actually help him. Even if he goes along with it, and here's another consideration. If he does go along with it, and then the Supreme Court says this is bullshit and they get rid of it, that would help J.D. Vance's political career, because then he would probably be Trump's vice president again. And then all the MAGA base would say, oh, J.D. Vance has Trump's back.
If he goes along with it, but the Supreme Court shoots it down, that's going to be good for him.
That would probably be the best outcome for him.
Oh, I completely disagree. I think everyone would be like, oh my God, he tried to destroy America. He tried to steal the election. They would blame him as much as they blame Trump. And look, if it actually worked,
what do you mean? People don't blame him now.
I don't think people blame him now because it failed.
Maybe. I don't know if people will be more cognizant of the situation. So,
yeah. And look, most people only focus on January 6th as the right was just protesting an election that they felt was stolen.
Right.
They don't really, we should really say electors scheme, although I don't like the term scheme.
Right. Roadkill VT for $5 says, Charlie seems to think that having religious influences on the government is good, but not having an official church, but not having an official church, not having the church rule. Yeah, it's interesting because it's hard to it all kind of gets down into the nitty gritty of what do you mean by that exactly? Because I would agree that having some level of Christian influence on government is a good thing. I say this as not a Christian. I think some level of Christian influence has been good on the world and on American society. You always bring up forgiveness and how important that is to Christianity, and how powerful it is to have, Erica Kirk literally forgive her husband's assassin, which she's doing it for religious reasons. She would not do that if she did not have, if she didn't believe in Christianity. I don't believe that she would have done that.
Yeah, look at how fucked up the Middle East is, because nobody forgives anybody, and it goes on for centuries, right?
Right.
Like the West doesn't have that problem, and why don't they have that problem, Sitch?
But right, exactly. But this is sort of the problem, and a lot of bad actors they use the vagueness of words and language to hide what exactly is going on. So, and I'm not saying Charlie Kirk is that because I don't. That's not at least my experience on the content I've seen of his, that he was doing that, but other people definitely are. Like one example is the White House just posted this, where they said, without borders, law and order, and religion, you don't have a country. Now, the first three of those I say is objectively true. Is that true without religion, you don't have a country? That's not objectively true. There's definitely been countries that
depends upon how you define religion. So
right. And why do they mean by that? And I am uncomfortable that the White House is posting that, because that's like, well, what the fuck does that mean? Why is the White House posting that? So
we need a civil religion. If he said civil religion, you'd completely agree.
Well, that would cause, but even if civil religion would cause, again, the definitions problem of what do you mean by that exactly? So,
well, yeah, the right would be like, what? Civil religion? How dare you, you progressive piece of shit?
Right. So it's just sort of like, why are we using this language? It definitely seems to be, to me, trying to throw red meat to the people you want to throw red meat to, while being vague enough that it's unclear what exactly is being talked about.
I don't. When you have Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles, people like that in the environment, why would people hide it? What's the purpose of hiding it?
Because I don't if someone came out, if the Trump administration came out and publicly said, like, we embrace Christian nationalism, we believe that Christianity needs to be, infused in the government, I think that would actually cause problem for them. And it would, it would galvanize a lot of support on the left. It would create a massive pushback, where if they're vague, maybe they don't have to go through with doing it whatsoever. They can just virtue signal. Right. And also then if the left complains about it, the right can just say, well, that's not what they meant. They meant
plausible deniability,
whatever they meant. And then they point to it and say, oh, they're just hallucinating. So it helps them in all respects to just be vague about it.
I was thinking more along the lines of Charlie Kirk hiding the fact that he's as religious as Michael Knowles,
I wasn't talking about
which
Charlie Kirk.
I don't think in that situation there's any point in that having.
Right.
But in your situation, obviously, I agree with you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm not talking about Charlie Kirk. I'm talking about the White House. So
a lot of times people are accusing Charlie Kirk now of being Matt Walsh.
Right.
Which I'm like, no.
Don't believe was the case, but. Fondue, thanks so much for the $20. Says, on Sunday's topic, I find it interesting that nobody really outlines the slow slide on the left from unfriending to deplatforming to canceling to now assassination. They've been escalating the same tactic for a decade now. Yeah, I think that's definitely a fair point. And is that just the continuation? Because definitely could fall into that trap to me. Fondue for now $20 also says, as I mentioned before, with the less escalation of cancellation, this is a tactic that gives them an immediate gain. And when it finally backfires, they move to the next step saying they didn't go far enough. They will not learn. We'll see. I hope that's not the case. We'll see. We're kind of in a situation where it would really, any sort of violence that the left engages in at this point would be have an insane backfire effect. So I would hope that even from a completely selfish, self-serving perspective, that any sort of would-be radical lefty who wants to do violence would have some semblance of realizing what a mistake that would be for their own cause, at the very least, because presumably they wouldn't be motivated to not do things for moral reason. Jason Mulgreen for $10 says, Christians don't seek a theocracy because scripture teaches that God's kingdom will only be established when Christ returns. Until then, no earthly government can become the kingdom of God. I mean, you say that, and I know there's definitely scripture that goes along with that. A lot of that's probably because Christianity was literally written by a group of people who were being subjugated by Romans who did not believe in Christianity at the time that the New Testament was written. And thus, it would make sense for the New Testament to have a lot of passages about why it's okay to live in a government in a country that's not Christian, because if they started advocating for that, they would have been crucified, much like Jesus, for rebellion.
You're ruining all the mystery.
But obviously, there's been plenty of countries in the past that have, followed Christianity, that have blended Christianity with their government and become theocratic to some extent. So that's part of the problem with religion. All these things, people seem to have the capacity to interpret things however they want at any moment. Correctly, Chibi, thanks so much for the 15 months. Says, behold, JMAC's 15-month fundraiser. A-Team may reign supreme and S-Class may be best class, but the real kings are the R-Tards and the Mongos. There you go.
Look at that.
Thank you.
Coming in for the EFAP crowd.
Alex Ryford says, is sending people to CCOT just enforcing the law? No, not even remotely, because enforcing the law would be you deporting a person to a country that they're from, or you putting someone in prison in America once they do due process and you find out that they committed a crime and a jury has found them guilty of crime and all that stuff. Unilaterally sending people based on tattoos or suspicions of crime to a maximum security prison where they could potentially be raped, as some people have reported they were at CCOT, is not enforcing the law whatsoever.
So that's the argument, that it's fascism and not law enforcement.
You could say, again, I don't like using fascism, but you could say it's definitely something that's bad and not necessarily just in the bounds of normal law. So, Boba Pack for $5 says, it seems like 99% of people, seems like for 99% of people, socialism is when government does things and fascism is when government does bad things. That's probably how they do it, but
it's been 6 months, but S-Class is best class.
Thank you. I'm glad it's been 6 months, but thank you, Boba Pack.
Actually, I think he's saying less than 6 months.
Less. Oh, you're right. He's got the little less than sign.
It's time.
No, he says, he's got the greater than sign.
Oh,
it's been greater than 6 months, but S-Class is best class. Thank you.
I love that my joke has become a meme on the show now.
It is good. I appreciate that you have started this meme, Adam. Kick Nastanza for Jura says, I like presidents who don't hate their opponents. I agree. It would be nice. We always point to the John McCain scene where he told one of his supporters that Obama was not a radical terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
A radical terrorist.
Not Muslim. A Muslim. Yeah.
Yeah. And a good American that we just have disagreements with, which was nice. And it'd be nice if we could return those days. I think we will. I think we can.
Simpler times. Yeah.
Simpler times.
Of course, someone's going to have to win the culture war first, but.
Ace for $10, criticizing Shu, saying, Shu, LOL, who cares about kids passing away from USAID cuts? Shu, Kirk's passing, the reaction to it has truly hit hard for her. Never fall for the crocodile tears from these types like Shu.
Wow, I think that's... Didn't you just say you were going to be a bit nicer?
I know.
What happened, Ace? It didn't last long.
Well, he actually said enough. He actually said that after that super chat, so maybe it was...
I thought it was up higher. What? No?
No,
okay, maybe. Okay.
It's his...
All right.
It's his membership after that. So if you want to criticize Shu or anyone really, for their level of grief they show to certain events, why is it, same people that were like very stricken by Charlie Kirk dying, they didn't care if, people were potentially dying from USAID cuts, or they don't care about, families being torn apart by immigration, or, whatever it is. Okay. People can make those arguments. That's fine. I think it's unfair for you to throw the accusation of crocodile tears from Shu at Shu. I watched her video. I think that what she said is completely sincere in that it came from her heart, in that she honestly, truly believes it. I don't believe these are crocodile tears. And it's something that affected her personally, because as she talked on the video, she knew and saw people that she thought were her friends that were advocating for political murder. And it bothered her on a deeply personal level, because she felt like it would be easy for those people to advocate for either her or even her husband to be killed in terms of what they believed. And these are people that she thought were her friends. So you can complain about like whether people's priorities are straight, but obviously when things affect people on a personal level, they're going to have a much stronger emotional reaction to it.
Yeah, of course. We're all in this space, so I think there's a lot of people in this space that are just callous and fraudulent. So,
Right.
which is always tough to deal with. I obviously she was sincere in her video,
Yeah.
and I thought it was very persuasive and moving, and I'm glad she made the video, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I agree completely.
yeah.
J-Macker Circuit Fire, thanks so much, Dad. J-Macker, the $50 says, did you guys see the Aztec Batman coming out? Any plans to cover on the media channel? If you guys need a Mexican so you don't get called racist, I'm always free, though I'm only half, so you may want to grab another Hispanic, maybe Sammy. Well, there you
That'd
go.
be cool.
I like that he's got
Aztec
the Sammy,
Batman. I haven't.
Sammy G emote with the taco. So Sammy's not Mexican, but I don't know if that counts or anyone cares. So we can have, she's some
Hispanic.
flavor of Hispanic. That's all that matters. Yeah, no, we will. We should 100% cover the Aztec Batman when it comes out.
Is it coming out this week? Be fun to see.
Oh, I think it already came out, so I guess we can watch it. We just have to find it and cover it.
Okay.
It says it came out the 18th, so we should go find where that's streaming and cover it, because that is completely insane. Obviously,
I saw him last weekend, and I think we're talking about it on Thursday. I don't know if you've seen it yet, Sitch. So
I haven't. We can talk about him. We also discussed, the Superman versus Fantastic Four thing, but we can say that for another day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll go watch him if we want to talk about it on Thursday. And we can watch Aztec Batman. So
I thought him was trash. Don't waste your money.
wow.
Total piece of shit. So.
Interesting. Sketch for $5 says, quote, exaggeration is essential to journalism, just as it is to dramatic arts. Arthur Schopenhauer? I think Tlaib might be in the wrong field. There you go. Andrew Barefoot says, Ace and Kick are morons, boot them out permanently.
Who said that?
Andrew Bear. Well, again, so my position is people can disagree. They just got to cut down on the insults. So if Ace and Kick are not insulting, they're free to disagree and say whatever opinions they want in the chat or super chats.
Yes.
Caleb for $20. Thanks so much. Caleb says there's a chunk of far right that don't care about being called fascist. Some of the GOP want a hyper reality where they're aesthetically fascist to appease these voters while being enough to stomach for establishment donors. Maybe. I mean, that'd be definitely hyper disturbing if we reach that reality. I don't think that reality is sustainable, because if people do accept that situation of the hyper reality where there's aestheticism of fascism to appease them, but they're not actually fascist, I mean, that is going to lead to political violence. And I don't think it's sustainable, because I think most people don't really understand what fascism, authoritarianism is. It's based on a vibe. It's based on the aesthetic. So they will perceive the aesthetic as fascism, regardless of whether it's actually fascist or not. M8566 for $10 says, all hail King J-Mac, first of his name, king of the free will seekers and those outside the simulation, Lord protector of the chat, and surrogate father of Sitch and Adam, long may he reign. Look at that.
Nice.
Look at that.
Long live the king.
I appreciate him. Mike Assange, thanks so much for 38 months of discipline equals freedom. Says, sorry if mentioning the catch yesterday was a sensitive subject. I haven't seen them in a while. I don't know what happened to them. A-Team reigns supreme.
No, Wormy has passed on, and I just haven't said anything about it because obviously it's a giant bummer. And, I want you guys to have fun on the show. So, but it is what it is.
Right. Ragamuffin's still around, right?
Ragamuffin is around, but isn't as affectionate, obviously.
Right.
Ragamuffin is more my wife's cat, so
I see.
She's like a stray that was adopted, so
right.
She might come around once in a while. She's never come around on the stream though. Sometimes she'll jump in my lap when I'm working or drawing, just to be annoying.
Right.
But she has yet to come on the stream. When she does, I will make her meow for the mic, obviously, because she's just a talker. She's a talker.
Right. Short Side Goblin for $2 says the word fascism is becoming white noise to me. Yeah, that is the problem with any of these terms, is that they're so overused. Nobody thinks about them whatsoever. But
I disagree, because I do think it gets under people's skin, and I do think it cultivates an atmosphere where you can just be casually violent towards people. I mean, that's the problem.
No, those things aren't.
Imagine saying like, "Oh, the screams of the Jews in the concentration camps are just white noise now."
So
okay,
those two, what you're talking about, and the white noise thing, those are not. Those things can exist simultaneously. Like, it's the same thing with the reason that people have switched to fascism is because the term Nazi was too overused, that people don't believe it anymore. The term Nazi was already white noise, so they switched to fascism, right? It's kind of like why a lot of people on the right don't use the word woke anymore. It's become white noise. It's been so used that people just grow accustomed to it. So while you're right that the term can still inspire, and does probably still inspire, people to do violence to a large set of the population, it just becomes meaningless at the same time.
I'm not sure Tlaib could use Nazi on the floor of the Congress and get away with it. Fascists seem to be somewhat acceptable, but look, I think that's might be going the way of the dodo here pretty soon.
Right.
So I disagree that it's just an innocuous term. I mean, that's the way she was trying to frame it. Oh, it's just an innocuous term. Look, it's just an accurate description. So I'm in favor of people not saying, oh, it's just background noise. I want people to get fucking pissed about it. And I want them to go around telling people how pissed it makes them.
J-Mac,
non-violently, but with their words.
There you go. J-Mac, thanks so much for the $100. Says, rest in peace, Wormy, you absolute feline Chad. May the yarn overflow and the catnip be abundant for you in kitty cat heaven.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Orca for $5 says, Ace is the scorpion. We'll see. I guess we'll find out.
I'm a little nervous about that.
It's unfortunate because it's like, and I feel like this is so true for almost anyone who is very incendiary online. Like, they're so incendiary in text, and then you talk to them and they're like, seem very normal. And it's just something about the sort of disconnect between talking to someone and typing in like a text format. Some people just really, they become like the, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation. So
Ace came on though, and he kind of held to his guns on we should be able to call people fascist and Nazi and racist. And
but he
like
wasn't being the hyper incendiary.
He was. Oh, you're right. Yeah, of course.
So
of course,
that's what I'm saying. Like, Ace came on, he disagreed. He was perfectly pleasant, right, and amicable, and that's all we're asking for here. So, Ace is Scorpion time and time again saying rude shit and apologizing half-heartedly because he knows he's gonna do it again. Hi, Wormy. C.S. Paffy for $5 says, similar to Ace, I will no longer call Adam gay. I hereby am turning my rhetoric down to bike curious. Thank you.
I think he means bi curious, but
I think he means bike curious.
No,
you're gonna start biking.
You messed up your joke, C.S. Paffy. But look, that joke would have killed if it actually said bi curious.
There you go. If I may go for $10 says, locking up criminals for life took El Salvador from one of the most dangerous countries in the world to safer than U.S. cities, which isn't saying much these days. Yeah, we have the situation where El Salvador was a complete shithole. That was, the government was in large scale corrupted and controlled by violent criminal gangs. So that is true. Sometimes you have to do very extreme situations when the barbarians have taken hold.
Ooh,
in that situation, in El
use a
Salvador,
conservative word.
That's true. In that situation with El Salvador, since it was so blatant that the gangs took over, I don't know enough about it, but it might have been a very different situation where like it was pretty well known and obvious who was part of a criminal gang because they weren't really hiding it the way that they often are in America. So
I always think of the story from The Art of War where Sun Tzu tries to train the concubine to do military formations, and they all just laugh at him and none of them take it serious. And then he takes 10 of them out, 10 of the king's most favorite concubine, and he beheads them all in front of everyone.
Right.
And then everyone is very serious.
Right.
Everyone's taking things very, very seriously. They're following every order. So incentives work. They do. Sometimes you got to cut some heads off.
What was the purpose of the action? Trying to get them to do military formations.
The king asked Sun Tzu if his laws of war would work with women. It obviously works with men, but would it work with women as well? So he was saying,
he was like, I got to prove it to the king. They're beheading some concubines.
Let me give you an example. They even go, this is, they kind of, I don't know. Did Sun Tzu write The Art of War? Is he basically humble bragging here? Because he mentions in the book that the king is really upset because it's his best 10 concubines.
Yeah, it was that. He's like, what the fuck,
like, really?
Bro?
He's like, whoa, really? And he's like, yes, we have to do this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Right. That's funny.
Yeah, so.
He is the author, yeah, so he's self-bragging, you know.
Yeah, so, but the king knows how useful he is. He's like, okay, well, I can't do anything about Sun Tzu because obviously he's the one protecting me, so.
Right.
Off with their heads.
Terrible.
Is that patriarchal? Is that sexist? Is that misogynist?
Seems a little misogynist.
I mean, he does it with the men, too.
There you go. Equal opportunity. Grawl for $20 says, longtime viewer, first-time super chatter. Love the conversation you guys have, the wide range of guests you have on, though I do argue at the screen when you guys talk about AI and tech. I'm a software engineer. Well, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
You probably disagree that it's coming maybe as fast as it is.
Yeah, let us know. What's the disagreement exactly? Because I'm curious.
Yeah, I watched something recent and they were talking about how, oh yeah, it's going to be a jobs apocalypse. The thing that we didn't watch, which was interesting, I'll just mention it and you can respond, was Atya Ungar Sargon was saying that I think there's been 1.5 million people deported that had American jobs, and those jobs have gone now to Americans, but they've gone to Americans at higher wages, and they don't show up in the jobs number. Obviously, the jobs numbers have been abysmal. We're not creating new jobs, but they are there because they just went from illegal immigrants' hands to Americans' hands at better pay, which obviously I'm totally in favor of. So.
Does she have, what is that based off of, I guess?
The fact that the people have been deported and the jobs numbers.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't really trust her without some sufficient fact checking.
You think
that'd be good if that's the case?
You think people are, well, I mean, it makes sense logically. If people are being deported, the business has to hire new people or go out of business, right?
Right.
And if they have to hire Americans, they might have to pay more money, higher wages. But she's basically taking on the myth that there are jobs Americans don't want to do.
I understand.
There are jobs Americans don't want to do at slave wages, which I've always said that. I've always said, and I've always hated that mantra that a lot of people say, oh, Americans don't want to do these jobs. Well, they don't want to do them for fucking $5 an hour, but who would? Only if you're in the country illegally, then you're willing to do that kind of stuff. So
it's not a free market if it relies on illegal labor.
Yeah,
and the
totally.
price point is obviously incorrect. So,
well, it made me think also about those abysmal job numbers too. I was thinking, well, that's a better situation.
We'll see. Economically, things we'll see. Things not been looking up, but who knows?
As the stock market hits an all-time high,
yeah. Okay.
Inflation is down, and they're
we'll see.
The only thing bad is the jobs number. But if they
but that's important. If so much of the economy is based solely on top 10 companies, dumping money into investors, dumping money into the hope of AI, and that's the big concern, is that if the AI proves good and actually does the things that people think it's going to do, then we'll be fine. We'll be smooth sailing. But if it doesn't, and it's really a massive bubble, then there's going to be a huge crash.
I was just thinking solely of the jobs numbers, not the AI being a bubble situation. I think, what do we normally do? What are the normal job estimates? I think it's like 100,000 or. I'm just saying, if in 3 months, 1.5 million jobs went from illegal immigrants' hands to Americans' hands.
That would be good. Sure.
That would not show up in the jobs numbers because obviously
wouldn't it?
They weren't created. The jobs numbers are for creating new jobs.
Yeah, but did the jobs number originally? I guess it did. I guess it would. Yeah, because it would count.
It's added jobs for the the growing economy. That's how they do it.
Okay, that's a good point.
So, but I mean, that's a lot of jobs. I'm looking for a graph. I don't really keep track of the jobs numbers for.
Whatever. I understand the point. But... Short Stack Allen for Joe says audio is all fucked up. Sitch keeps breaking up. Is this true? Is my audio messed up?
Sounds great.
Okay. There was one part where I was talking where my mic did something weird on my end for a couple seconds. So I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but
yeah, it was just one little time, and I was like, oh no, because Sitch has got a cable he's plugged in now. So
yeah, it wasn't the internet, it was the mic did something. But Ace for $5 says if only Kirk had taken up boxing, he could have been taught bobbing and weaving. That is the most effective means of dodging. There you go. Thank you.
Oh
Ace.
My God, Ace. Stop it.
Short Stack Goblin for $2 says Ace is the final form of a Destiny fan.
Oh, that's
funny.
True.
Duval for €6 says, but Sitch, the real question is, how much Tylenol did your mother take during her pregnancy? Also, what do you think about the autism announcement? Obviously, my mom took way too much Tylenol during her pregnancy. So that's a good question. I should ask her. My mom was like hyper afraid to take anything during, I believe, either mine or my brother's when she was pregnant with my brother. So
yeah, I don't know why. I just assumed people would try to not take anything. This is common for them to take even aspirin or Tylenol. I wouldn't take.
Well, they say talk to your doctor, and the doctor tells you whatever. So, in terms of the announcement, well, I guess I'll have my two takes are I did not look into the science. I have no, experience looking into the science. This idea that Tylenol causes autism or painkillers cause autism or whatever. I don't know anything about that. I've never heard that before. I have no knowledge about anything regarding that science whatsoever. So that's my take on that. But my take on the presentation is it seemed like Donald Trump was like on drugs or tired because the speech he gave during it, he seemed really out of it. I don't know what the fuck was going on. So
assassin meet a Nineveh.
Maybe he was just maybe he was like fucking really tired, or maybe the claims about him having some sort of health concern were correct, but he really seemed out of it. So
February 2022, we added 900,000 jobs in a month. That's crazy.
Maybe he was tired from his very long Charlie Kirk speech.
So it looks like a good average is about 200,000 jobs a month, 200 to 300,000 jobs a month. So it's not, so 1.5 million is not insignificant. That's a few months.
Steel Manning for $5 says, despite being 100% of the Daily Wire black female population, Candace is right 13% of the time.
Oh my God.
Terrible. Oh my God.
She's not at the Daily Wire anymore, so.
I know. Sketch for $5 says, quote, Miss Kelly, can you explain the political meaning of the phrase wombo combo? You have Uno in get good for the boomers in Congress, please. There you go. That would be nice. That'd be a nice little situation. Short Stack Goblin for $2 says, wouldn't Hey Fascist Catch be inherently political? Yes.
Yes, of course it would. But they're arguing it's just in a video game.
Entropy Denied for 500 RSD says, quote, why did the bullets mention fascist? Well, maybe he killed him ironically. I'm so stupid. It's so stupid.
It is so stupid.
Yeah.
I can't believe they're using maybe he was a leftist in a video game.
Right.
So wrong.
Sells Temple for 2 hours says the far right hates Jared Kushner too since he's Jewish. That is true.
Maybe it was.
The Oceanist for $10 says completely off topic, but it seems like Trump is now okay with Ukraine retaking its territory from Russia. Yeah, we talked about that. We'll see.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully they take Moscow soon. That would be great.
Right. Kayla for $5 says Richard Spencer is more moderate than half of the Sitch and Adam chat now. LOL. Throw Matt Walsh under the bus. He explicitly advocates for Christian nationalism. I don't think that's true. Fuck Matt Walsh. I throw Matt Walsh under the bus and write it over him, and then back up and write over it again.
I think there is an argument to be made that
our
Richard
chat
Spencer
is
Richard Spencer is definitely more moderate than Ace. Come on, let's be real here.
Well, there you go. But
I mean, it's the opposite side of the political spectrum, but we're talking about moderation, not
right. Who in the chat got super triggered when we were reading the Matt Walsh X post? I wasn't looking in the chat.
I'm not sure.
Mel Screaming the Void for $5 says no one hates the left more than the left. Destiny hates Hassan, hates Ethan, hates Ian, hates everyone. Anissa tells him to. Yeah, the people, the small differences? I forget the little saying, but yes. Drives everyone crazy. Mel Screaming the Void for 18 months. Thanks so much. Says, would anyone be surprised if some Hassan supporter took out Destiny? Does anyone hate AOC more than the progressives when she won't support Hamas? I would be very surprised if a Hassan supporter took out Destiny. I don't think that will happen. But
yeah, that would surprise me.
I think some right winger might take him out. But he's definitely.
I hope not.
I hope not, but he's definitely acting very unhinged. So
Tim Pool mentioned Destiny in a video and actually showed a lot of grace. I was super.
Really?
Yeah, I was super impressed. Obviously. Because Destiny throws so much hate at everyone, but
yes,
Tim Pool was saying he thought Destiny was suicidal, and that's why he was doing what he's doing on this tour. And
right,
he thinks his life fell apart, and he's just mentally lost it. Of course, Destiny has been on Tim Pool's show and whatnot. So
right, I think it could be true that his life fell apart, so he's lost it, but I don't think he's suicidal.
You don't think so?
No.
Oh, I think he might be.
Okay. The Oceanist for
definitely putting a target on his back.
He is. The Oceanist for $10 says Trump also said he was okay with NATO countries downing Russian jets and drones if they violate airspace again. Turkey downed a Russian jet a few years back and nothing happened. Great.
Wow. Okay.
Wonderful. Grail just now for $20 says, I'm usually arguing at Adam. He believes the marketing material that this is a sudden shift and jobs will disappear in the near future. AI has a much longer history, and I'd love to talk to you guys about it in more detail.
Well, maybe we'll have you on.
Sure, yeah. That'd be cool. Girl Sarah for $5 says, only 9 years between basket of deplorables to I hate my autistic opponent. Trump is so fucking base. Glad Adam agrees. There you go.
I was not super offended. The only thing that I didn't like about those comments was it just seemed stylistically out of place at a funeral. But I did see a lot of people praising the celebration aspect of Charlie's life and saying it's much nicer to have sort of a jovial atmosphere at a funeral. It's just it's better psychically for everyone to think about the good things.
I'm assuming they had like a private.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah. So it is different than a funeral.
Right.
Okay. So maybe I'm less offended by it then. Because he did turn it into like a comedy show.
The thing that makes me bothered by it is just that the contrast of it to his wife's words to me is very insulting.
Because she came out with the forgiveness stuff.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm not forgiving anyone.
Right.
Fuck
it's kind of like
you.
It's also, to me, it's a little weird that the wife didn't speak last, that Trump spoke after the wife. Like, I get that he's a president, so it's more important. But when you're talking about someone who's died, his wife is going to be the most important person than Charlie Kirk, and her life is the most affected by it, not Donald Trump. And so to me, him kind of making this comment and kind of making it like a joking way in response to her doing something that is like, if you think about it this way, it's I can't even fathom. I would not have the ability to do what she did. I cannot even fathom how insanely difficult it would be for her to publicly make the statement that she would forgive the person who murdered her husband. And I think that's why when she said it, she like broke into tears. It's just such a like insane thing for a person to do and a powerful thing for a person to do. And I don't think I have the strength to do that action whatsoever. That it really rubbed me the wrong way that, Trump is going to make a comment that essentially I interpret as him sort of making light or a joke of that. It just seems so inappropriate to me that he would say that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I definitely do. I just imagine if Trump speaks before her and she speaks last, and then you turn to the audience and like half the people have left already because they're there to see Trump.
Right.
It's like,
no, right.
Like,
and that is, and that's the logistics of it. And, it's funny because I was talking to Sam and she said the same thing. And I think that's a fair point that if she spoke last, maybe people wouldn't have really
he's
heard.
like the headliner.
But then at the same token, so much of this is like people watching the clips anyway.
Yeah.
But if he spoke first and said his comment and then she spoke last, I think I would have had a much less problem with that comment.
Really?
Because it wouldn't have been in the context of like almost taking the energy away from her statement. It would just be like he said it, and then she had like kind of she'd almost be responding to him, and so it would have hit me very differently. So
my gut intuition on the situation, I do think we've got a little bit of a powder keg here. And I think if Trump comes out and says, oh yeah, she's convinced me forgiveness is the way to go, I forgive him, I forgive everyone, I think there's going to be a civil war. I think people are like, okay, well, I'm not forgiven. They're loading up their guns. They're packing up the truck. They're going to go firebomb something.
I feel like I already addressed this and you're not addressing what I said.
Okay.
Which is that what you're saying, I think would be true if Trump is like shrugging and saying, we forgive the shooter, so we're not going to, put him in jail or get to the bottom of the shooting. If that's the case, then yes, people are going to go turn the vigilante violence, because they're going to be like, what the fuck? What if the guy's already been arrested and Trump says, he's arrested, he's going to face the maximum penalty? I don't have a problem with him saying that. That's very different than sort of not only saying you hate your opponents, but you sort of bring it back to what she said by like, oh, she's going to get mad at me and Charlie Kirk's going to get mad at me looking down on me, but I hate my opponents. Like, those are very different statements. And I don't agree that you have to take it to that level to prevent like a civil war from breaking out. And I don't think for a second that Donald Trump had like that idea of like, oh, I have to say this to prevent people from.
Well, look, I don't think so either. I think he just did it instinctively. And I just think instinctively, you have to throw a bone to the people who want retribution. If you think there's a way to do that, that's presidential, or the way to do it that's better for the situation, I mean, I'm interested. I'd love to hear it.
As I said, his comment in his speech about saying that the guy will face justice and will face the maximum penalty, that's fine. I think that's completely presidential. No problem with that comment.
I'm not sure it satiates the bloodthirst of the crowd.
Well, then, okay. The whole, first of all, I think you have to watch the whole memorial, because there wasn't a bloodthirst for the crowd. 95% of the speakers were not, no one was talking about bloodthirst. They were talking about the positive effect that Charlie Kirk had on the world and the speaker's individual lives.
I'm not talking about the people that were there. I'm talking about the people who are watching this from home. And I have seen plenty of people online saying, fuck that, I'm not forgiving anyone. They're the ones that are going to go out and potentially commit violence.
If that's the case, then those people should just go to jail. I don't agree that Trump should make some comment that undermines the grieving widows because some unhinged retards might go out and do violence. I think that's very, I I don't know. I don't agree with that. That was what happened. And I think you said you'd agree that that wasn't the motivation. And I don't think that's
I don't think it's the motivation. I think he did it instinctively, but I do look, this is, and we always come back to this. This is the Futurama episode where Bender is like, you got to have a fucking light touch here. You got to, like, people can't know you're doing what you're doing. I do think there are a bunch of people out there fucking thirsty for blood after this situation. And right now they're sitting on their hands and they're wanting justice. They want justice. And
I understand.
They get a
the
little
argument.
bit of justice. They get a little bit of justice when the Congress person curses out Rashida Tlaib and says, we're not going to take this anymore. Fuck you. And it makes them think, okay, let me sit back and see how this plays out. But if they didn't get any of that, if there was none of that going on, if they're just like, oh yeah, continue to call us fascists, continue to heap it on, I think there would be people planning more violence. So
Okay. I vehemently disagree. But
okay.
move on.
We can disagree.
Sketch for $10 says, Count Dankula said this 5 years ago in his 10 stupid arguments against free speech. Don't build a tank to fight your enemies with if you don't want your enemies to use it against you too. Yeah, we were all saying that 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It was like the most common thing. So here we are.
The thing is, they built the tank.
They did, yeah.
Unfortunate, but true. Now everybody's like, who built this tank? It wasn't me. I didn't build cancel culture. So much of the cancel culture, we would have people on, Sitch. I'm sure you remember this. Mm-hmm. And they would say cancel culture is not really a thing. That doesn't exist. It didn't exist,
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's accountability. What are you talking? It's accountability culture. And the people we're trying to hold accountable, they get more famous. So it doesn't even hurt them.
Orca Futura says, did you see Pac-Man clickbaited election denial? No.
I did not, but
what do you mean? That Donald Trump really lost the election or something?
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about, but I have seen a bunch of people sharing Pac-Man's tweets he's got this tweet going around that's completely contradictory where he's celebrating Roseanne Barr being deplatformed, but then he's like, we need free speech for Jimmy Kimmel.
Right. Okay, I see. Here's a video. I'll watch it, see what happened. It says, bombshell claim Trump did not win 2024 election manipulated. There you go. Look at that.
No way. Oh,
yes.
my God. My God.
Insensitive for $5 says, it's been 10 years coming. These people deserve to lose their jobs for the slightest infraction. Well, I don't agree with that, but I understand the emotion behind it. M8566 for $10 says, I don't like the censorship, but I have no sympathy for the left on this. They're all using the same arguments the right was making a few years ago, but back then it was only a quote conspiracy. That is true. That is true.
Oh God, the irony is so delicious.
Yes. Ladante Latranta for $20. Thank you. Says, respectfully, the quote issue isn't all benign. When they quote him saying, quote, I think the Second Amendment is worth a few gun deaths every year, I personally can only assume the worst when he was shot. I'm not saying it's benign whatsoever. I'm just saying I don't think it's worthy of someone being fired for, losing their job for. Even though I agree and understand what Charlie Kirk was saying, and obviously people were taking that out of context. Roadkill VT for $2 says, Google AI says YouTube is testing community notes. Interesting.
So it's like, oh, interesting. So the same kind of community notes that they do on Twitter.
They had to figure out how to fix, as I said, the community notes problem, which is that the community notes are so slow nowadays. Like, it's useful to me because if you're part of community notes, you can see the community notes, and usually you can look through the community notes and you could see kind of an accurate. Someone in there has said something that's probably true. You'll see like all the people fighting between the community notes. One of them is generally true. So, but they do have to fix that problem where it just takes way too long nowadays to get the community note out. Nobody even sees it anymore.
Is there someone that you look up to, you admire, that if they were assassinated, it would really be something depressing for you?
Like a person I don't know?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anyone that I like that I like look up to. I mean, I think it'd be very upsetting if like Jordan Peterson got killed or something. But I don't know if I don't like look up to him.
Yeah, yeah.
So
God,
I think the closest would have been like Jordan Peterson back in his heyday.
Yeah.
Right back, when we all
That's a
loved
good
him,
pick.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it would have seemed totally unfair, obviously, because they were completely trying to make him out to be something he wasn't. So
right,
there would be that huge injustice component to it.
It's kind of lucky he didn't. So
I'm sure he's thinking that.
The Oceanist for $20 says Scott Lincombe wrote an article comparing Trump to Juan Perón. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that sometime. S class is the best class. Also, where should I put my super chats? You should put them on if you have a computer, a desktop. You should put them on that if you want to make sure we get the maximum amount.
Oh
of
yeah,
the money. So, or if you can't have access to a computer, I don't know if you can do this on Apple, but if you can go to YouTube through the browser and not the app and sign in and do super chats that way, that would circumvent the issue. So.
Oh, on your phone, yeah.
On your phone, yeah. Now, I don't know who Juan Perón is, so I don't... Who is this person? This was the 29th president of Argentina. Interesting. We'll have to check out this article. I'm unfamiliar with the story here, but check it out. Here it is. America's Perón. Tali Bots for $10 says, hey, Tali, says, Sitch, I think you would enjoy Michael Monaham's taking Kobe Hall to task about authoritarianism versus fascism on the Moynihan report 4 days ago. Oh, okay. Maybe I will. That does sound kind of interesting. I'll check that out.
Is that Wix tally? Is that the tally?
That is, well, first of all, you misogynist. There's not Wix tally. Okay. How dare you, sir?
I meant Wix nemesis.
Okay. But yeah, no, I'll check it out. Kobe Hall on Charlie Kirk and Jimmy Kimmel. Here it is.
Thanks for the super chat. That's nice of you.
I'll check that out.
We did notice that you never came back, and we did stream for like 10 hours. So, but...
yeah, Tali, what the fuck? Jeez.
Just want to rub it in a little.
Can't believe you.
You said, what, you were going to work or something? Where do you work? You work longer than 10 hours?
There you go.
No,
there you go.
I'm just playing around.
How dare.
You don't, well, I don't like to obligate people to stay on through the whole show because then they'll never come on. Right. I usually try to give people an easy out if they just want to come on for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm. AKA Batosai for $5 says, I unironically use the word fascist, but I also use a whiny, high-pitched voice when I say it. There you go.
Okay, well, that's acceptable.
Right.
That's the way to do it.
Tali in chat said, I am in fact Wix Tali. That's funny. I done movies in chat says, you guys should look into the super tips thing that Ricada is using now. They only keep about 10% and it uses AI voices that you can set and are pretty funny. Oh, wow. I don't know about that. Super
tips. Okay.
Cool.
The key, how do you get it so it's part of, so it's like all the features are the same as super chats.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what we need to figure out.
Is the super tips like a YouTube specific thing or is it some sort of third-party program?
Oh, I'm sure it's a third-party program.
Because I Googled it. I don't see the thing. I don't see anything, but I'll have to check Ricada's stuff. The Oceanist for $5 says the right overused communists and socialists too. Everyone's been downplaying extremes. Very, very true. That is the problem. They've been overusing it for years. So when the commies showed up, no one believed them. Orca for $2 says rip wormy with a flower.
Thank you, Orca.
Yes.
And I have noticed that you've consistently super chatted. So
J-Mac for $10 says my mom never took Tylenol while pregnant, but she did shoot up a few times. Pretty sure I'm okay though.
Yeah.
Jesus.
My mom never even drank or anything. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure.
My mom just did fentanyl and ADHD medication. Okay, it's not a big deal.
My mom would never do any drugs.
The Oceanist for $5 says the left. Everything is political. The shooter. Hey, fascist, catch the left. It's not political. That is pretty funny.
Oh yeah, another
is pretty
contradiction. They don't
Yep.
care. Nobody cares about their contradictions.
Right.
It's
That's
so
a good
sad.
point. We need a clip of all the bread tubers saying everything's political and you just play it every time someone says the shooter wasn't political. Like, really? Interesting. My Dumb Movie says it's a third party program. He leaves a link to it pinned at the top of chats. We'll have to look into that. That was pretty good. Caleb for $5 says, I think you guys view Richard Spencer as unhinged because of the Sargon debate from a few years ago where Sargon butchered liberalism and strawman the whole time. Well, no, I mean, I view Richard Spencer as unhinged because he is a white nationalist, or at least
The
he was a
recorded
white
video.
nationalist. So I don't know where he's at now. Supposedly changed some of his views, but so if you say that our chat is worse than Richard Spencer, to me, in my mind, it translates to your chat is worse than the leader of the white nationalist movement, which I don't agree with that even remotely.
The Richard Spencer secret audio that leaked of him going crazy talking about the Jews was, I mean, that was the moment, the clear moment that you're like, oh yeah, this guy's totally anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even before that, he wasn't hiding it. He was openly white nationalist. He was just nice about it. And that leaked audio showed that not surprisingly, I should say, the white nationalist was not nice about it, actually.
But his argument when he was nice about it was, we're not supremacists. We are not saying white people are superior to other people. Obviously, Jewish people are great. Black people are great. Everyone's great. We just, we want to advocate for our own people, right? That was the attitude. But then when the leaked audio hit, you're like, oh yeah, well, he hates Jewish people, right?
Mm-hmm.
He does, in fact, hate them.
Right.
And think they're terrible and that they're controlling everyone.
A Broken Gamer for $20 says Trump went last in order to try to break up the sadness. If she went last, it would end in crying and sadness. So that's why I think Trump was acting more jovial and joking in nature's speech. What do you think? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think he went last just because he's president. But in terms of like logistics, I'd understand arguments of why it would make more sense for him to go last.
Trump only became president so he could continually do stand-up comedy. That's really the only reason he loves being president. I'm convinced of it.
Raul says, I'd love to be technical contact with the support to talk about the App Store payment processing has my ears burning. Well, are we getting something wrong about that? I mean, my understanding is that it's true, that the Apple, if you use YouTube, and I've seen this reported, that if you use YouTube through the Apple, if you download YouTube through the Apple Store and use the YouTube app on your iPhone and you donate money, that it has been confirmed that before that money ever reaches even YouTube, Apple takes a third of that away. And then the rest of it gets divvied to us. YouTube takes their third. And then so we end up, in the grand stream of things, getting half. My understanding is that is the correct order of events. I haven't really seen anyone say that's not true.
Where if it's through a browser, we get 2/3 instead of a half.
Right. But if that's not the case, let me know in the chat. I'd be happy if that's not the case, but
a lot of content creators use PayPal because you get, obviously through Streamlabs, they only take 4% because it's through PayPal. But they do take, I think it's 50 cents per transaction and then 4 cents and then 4% above that. So we got rid of the $1 and moved it up to the $2 because the $2 we were making like 48 cents.
Right. Did I say the grand stream of things? Or the grand scheme of things? Okay. Sorry about that.
I mean, it makes sense.
For 26 months says, I think it could be very interesting for you guys to speak with Christian apologist, inspiring philosophy. Would you be open to speaking with him? Sure. Inspiring philosophy.
I mean, I have spoke with him, I think, a couple times, so I could just drop links to that in the chat if you want to.
I mean, what would we talk about?
If you want to hear me talking to him.
What is it that we would talk about? That would be interesting.
I like inspiring philosophy.
Mhm.
Michael is his name, and he's super cool.
Zero for $5 says, here you go. Because I know you all ask, you can talk about his decision to now more directly to engage in politics to general Christian questions and the cosmological argument. Okay. Oh, Grawl says, you guys have it right. It's just my ear burning from how long it took to figure it out. Oh, listen, we're a little slow here. Okay, have to forgive us. But better late than never. Board 3659 for $5 says, most pro-tariff people don't really understand what their policy actually does and use vague notions of bringing back industry. It's a failed policy. There you go. King Ranch for $10 says, Pac-Man at the beginning and the end of the video gives skepticism and makes no claims that anything the dude he was interviewing was true. Reactionary idiots, as always. Well, I have to take it. I just watch for myself. Because, yeah, if he says, I don't think this is true, okay, I guess. There's a question of what's the point of platforming it. I did find it interesting that when I looked at Dave Pac-Man's channel to find the video, that video is the highest performing video he had in the last 24 hours. He had a very high performing video criticizing Carolyn Levitt, but that's definitely a high performing video. So
what were the numbers?
It was 213,000 views.
And it's him saying that Trump didn't win the 2024 election?
No, it's him talking to a person who's saying that.
Okay.
And now
so look,
now King Ranch is saying that Dave Pac-Man was supposedly skeptical about it and didn't make a claim agreeing with it. So I'll have to see.
What a fucker.
Listen, I'll have to see. I'll have to see it for myself. But thank you, King Ranch. David Harrison for $10 says, I don't trust or watch Destiny, but I like when he debates other people sometimes. His debate with Ben Shapiro I liked. Ben, quote, Trump tried to overthrow the government but failed, so who cares? LOL. Well, that's unfortunate. Listen, I wish Destiny wasn't so fucking unhinged. We do need, I think, as a healthy society, we need content creators on both the left and the right who ideologically should be in the more moderate position because we have a bunch of communists and a bunch of fucking white nationalists. And I would like people on the left and the right that are more moderate. Destiny used to be in that camp. You know, he defended Kyle Rittenhouse. He was very anti the communist stuff. So it's, you know, it is very unfortunate he's gone down the unhinged pathway. Grawl, thanks so much, Grawl, for joining the Free Will Seekers. Dr. Diller for $3. Thank you. Oh, no, that was from Sunday. Fondue for $6 says, Trump's Russia message reminds me of my favorite Churchill quote. You can always count on Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else.
I like that quote too.
Yeah, maybe. Arrhythmus for $2 says, maybe people who say they were indifferent about Kirk's assassination don't need to be fired, but they definitely should not be trusted. You can't be indifferent about political violence in your democratic system. That's fair. Sulfur Jar says, what do you think about the complaint that it was disrespectful to have pyrotechnics at his memorial and that it was too political? 20 years ago, conservatives also said the latter about Senator Paul Wellstone's funeral. I mean, I was listening to it, so I didn't notice any sort of pyrotechnics. I think that's a really silly complaint. I mean, who cares? Who cares? How is it disrespectful to have, why is it disrespectful to have pyrotechnics at a memorial? Like, if the wife is okay with it, if the wife said, no, I don't want that, and they did it anyway, then yes, if she was okay with it, then who gives a fuck? And as for it being too political, I mean, it was very political, but Charlie Kirk's entire career was built around political advocacy, so I don't know what people expected. Obviously, it's going to be political. So now, and actually, a lot of it wasn't political. A lot of it was just about how people saying about how, you know, he helped them in their lives, and a lot of it was religious. So no, I disagree. Sulfur Jar says, check the last 2 tweets I shared in your DMs from me. If you haven't, Sitch, both are unhinged as fuck. Okay, let me look here. Let me look and see the unhinged tweets. We have Joe Walsh.
Who? Okay.
Yes.
Joe Walsh is a tweeter.
Joe Walsh is a tweeter. He has he's responding to a picture. The picture says someone named Curious Leaf. Trump today, quote, "We may end up with a closed country. That's not a slip. It's a blueprint for Project 2025. He's already attacking the press, censoring critics, and trying to silence free speech. A closed country means locked borders, controlled media, crushed dissent, exactly how North Korea operates. He's telling us what comes next. Believe him." Joe Walsh responded to that saying, "Fuck you, Donald Trump. We will never allow America to end up a closed country. America is a free, open, democratic country. The insurrection that will rise up against you as you continue down this fascist road you're on will utterly dwarf the January 6th insurrection you led."
Wow.
Wow.
Someone really needs some attention.
Yeah. Everyone just, it's so dumb too, because I feel like a lot, I don't know, some of this is people just legitimately are very emotional and unhinged. Some of it is obviously grifting. I mean, I'd make the argument that it's just the cry wolf problem. These people are jumping the gun so quickly that if there is some actual problem, no one's going to believe them because they're fucking crying wolf so hardcore and all this shit. So I'd say it's pretty stupid.
Yeah. Yes.
And then the other post, which is way too long for me to read, but I'll read the top of it, is Rebecca Jones, who I don't know who that is, but her name seems very familiar to me. She says, "Fine, I'll say it. The podcaster who was killed in Utah, I mean Charlie Kirk, was fucking creepy, goofy ass looking grown man who flunked out of college and could never let it go." Okay. He grifted off completely fabricated stories about oppression against conservatives. His entire persona was a gimmick steeped in theocratic and white supremacy. He was bigoted, racist, homophobic, sexist piece of shit. He participated in insurrection against our country. He repeatedly called for the deaths of perceived political enemies. He cheered on those who violently assaulted Americans. He should have been in jail. Instead, he got shot.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of people posting her 4 mugshots in response to that.
Rebecca Jones went to jail.
I guess she's been in jail a bunch of times for doing all kinds of shit.
Right. Okay, is there like a butt anywhere in this thing? Like I was running, he's like the worst thing ever. Buddy should have died, because I don't see it. Doesn't seem like it. So, okay, interesting. Very disgusting. Why is her name familiar to me? What has she done? Why do I know that name?
I keep trying to think of it. She was involved in some scandal where she was whistleblowing on somebody and it turned out to be fake. Look up Rebecca Jones.
This is what the Wikipedia says.
Okay, there you go.
It says Rebecca Jones is an American geographer, data scientist, and activist. She is known for her COVID-19 activism in Florida and allegations against the Florida Department of Health and Governor DeSantis.
There you
an
go.
Unsubstantiated whistleblower campaign after being fired. She was referred to as a whistleblower and awarded with several honors, but many public officials and media outlets labeled her a conspiracy theorist after investigations into her and her allegations. She was dismissed in 2020 whistleblower complaint filed by Jones after she was fired by the state for insubordination. In May of 2020, Jones was terminated from her position in managing the team that created Florida's COVID-19 dashboard after being repeatedly reprimanded for sharing the department's work online without authorization. Jones alleged and said that she was told to manipulate the dashboard's data and that her firing was retaliation for her refusal. The Office of Inspector General exonerated state health officials, finding her allegations to be unsubstantiated and unfounded. Jones later posted on social media a forgery of the dismissal letter from the Florida Commission of Human Relations, such that it appeared that her complaint had been validated. In December 2022, she signed a deferred prosecution agreement admitting guilt to unauthorized use of the state's emergency alert system on November 10th, which resulted in her home being searched under a warrant by state police. Blah, 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 blah.
How do you like that? How do you like them apples?
I do remember this now. I do remember this, that she, as a Floridian, I do remember that she was saying, they've cooked the books on the data. And then it turned out that she's just making it up. So there you go. Well, it doesn't surprise me. A lot of these people, the way in which they make money is just to be as incendiary as possible. So it doesn't make, not even remotely surprised.
Grifters.
Yes.
Grift,
Look at this.
Grift.
She ran against Matt Gaetz and lost.
She's like, let me jump in here. This is a perfect opportunity for me to do what I do best. Say incendiary, wacky shit that gets me attention on social media.
Right.
And that's what she did. And it worked.
Matt Gaetz, that's funny. She ran against Matt. How embarrassing is that? She ran against Matt Gaetz and then lost. And then a few years later, Matt Gaetz
Attorney General Matt Gaetz
has to Matt Gaetz has to resign because of the allegations against him.
What did Trump nominate Matt Gaetz for? Was it Attorney
General?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Totally batshit crazy.
Attorney General Matt Gaetz.
Yes.
Everyone was like, what?
Even the Senate Republicans were like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, what are you?
And then they
Matt Gaetz? The fuck?
And then they got Pam Bondi.
Yeah, they got
Come
Pam
on,
Bondi.
Matt Gaetz wouldn't have loved hate speech.
That
real.
is probably true. That is probably true.
They'd be happy to have Matt Gaetz now.
Yeah. Well, actually no. See, there's an element.
Oh, with the Epstein files.
Yes, Matt Gaetz, who is accused of underage sex trafficking, and now the Epstein cover up. Oh my God,
He would have been bad.
Worse.
He would have been so terrible at the Epstein cover up.
Oh no, they've been like, oh, of course, Matt Gaetz is going to cover up for Epstein. He's sympathetic. At least with Pam Bondi, no one's going to think she was sympathetic to it. So, God, that would have been a timeline. Fondue for 2 hours says the new N-word for Nazis and the new N-word is for Nazi and the new F-bomb is for fascists. There you go.
Yep.
Dr. Live for 2 hours says the real IQ test is coming up with criticism of Trump that isn't an obvious straw man. It's so easy when you hear fascism, tiny hands, killing trans people, minorities, you know you're dealing with an idiot. There you go.
Yeah.
It's
true. I did think a little bit more about the TDS discussion that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely agree that the term TDS shuts down debate, but you yourself make the claim that people vote just based on vibes. Right. Only vibes, not policy, just vibes.
First of all, I say the majority of people. I don't say everyone.
Okay. Fair. That's definitely fair.
Yeah.
It's the kingmakers that don't vote on vibes. They vote based on policy. I think it's a lower number that vote based on vibes. I'd say it's a minority that votes based on vibes. Most people vote based on policy.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
But that goes along with your vibes argument. Because they don't like Trump based on vibes, not really what he's doing or saying.
Right.
Look, I'd be interested to see. Well, I don't know Dev's opinion on Ukraine, so I don't know if Dev was pro-Ukraine or pro-Russia.
I'm pretty sure Dev is pro-Ukraine.
It'd be interesting to see his reaction.
Mm-hmm. Growl, thanks so much for the 21 months, Growl. Says renewed for the emotes. Looking forward to talking about tech in the future. Cool.
Sweet.
Caleb for $5 says, I find it funny we're dismissing Richard Spencer based on a 10-year-old leak clip. I'm a lib and I watch him regularly because he's sane, pro-Ukraine, right-wing voice. Caleb, this is so fucking weird to me, Caleb. This position. I'm very confused. Because you said our chat is more radical than Richard Spencer, but now you're saying that Richard Spencer is like not radical. So I'm very confused as to what exactly you're saying. And to be clear, I'm not basing it on a 10-year-old leaked clip. I'm basing it on the fact that Richard Spencer was the voice of the white nationalist movement for years. What do you mean? The fuck are you talking? Like, what is happening here? What do you mean? I'm so confused, Caleb. What are you talking about?
Are you saying that our chat is very sane, like Richard Spencer?
Yes.
Your chat is insanely sane.
Yes. Are you
Just like
saying
Richard
that Chad is
Spencer.
white nationalist? I'm so confused.
I
It was just-
am dismissing Spencer over a leaked clip from 10 years ago. So
Right. Well,
but
definitely.
I mean, that's probably the last I really ever heard of him.
Right.
I guess he did talk to a streamer for a while that we had on the show. I'm spacing on her name at the moment, but he did have some conversations with her that were kind of interesting. And she's on the left and got a massive amount of backlash because they were like, you're laundering Richard Spencer's reputation. You're a woman of color, and you're making him look like he's not racist. So they got big mad at her.
I don't know who that is.
I don't either, but I'm just saying that's probably the last I saw.
Was it
Richard
Stardust?
Spencer. Stardust, that is it. Yeah.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Chat. I didn't see that conversation.
It was interesting more because everyone was getting mad at her. She's like, but I'm having these reasonable conversations, and they're drawing a lot of attention because it is Richard Spencer and I'm a woman of color.
Right.
And I was like, go ahead, swing for the fences.
It was, and I talked about earlier that Russell Brand had a complete puff piece conversation with Nick Fuentes. And I saw that today, Nick Fuentes they uploaded some conversation between Nick Fuentes and PBD podcast. And at first I was like really in a bad headspace because all these people were like, oh, yeah, whitewashed it. And I didn't have time to watch it before stream started, but I only watched like the first, like the little tag in the beginning, the little intro. And it's him. PBD seems to be grilling him about a bunch of his racist fucking takes. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. I'm hoping that, he's not actually, that it seems like he's taking the task. It's not going to be like a Russell Brand thing. So
if he grills him long enough, I mean, this was the heart of my question. Like if he grills him long enough and Nick Fuentes does enough penance and actually changes his evil ways, do we accept that? I think you kind of have to, myself.
I don't know
especially
why.
If it's a guy in his 20s. So.
Listen, I am totally fine with Fuentes changing. I honestly don't know why you keep bringing it up. He has shown zero impetus to change anything. I don't know why you keep bringing it up every time.
I brought it up because you brought up PBD podcast and said that they were grilling him. Obviously, if they're grilling him and he has terrible answers, then you're going to assume he's still fucking a racist. If he says, look,
yes,
I've changed my evil ways. I've turned over a new leaf. I bring it up because we're having a conversation about him on PBD podcast. Am I allowed to bring it up again?
You're not.
Okay, so
in the tag,
don't bring up. If you bring up Nick Fuentes, I'm not allowed to talk about it.
I'm teasing you.
Okay,
in the tag,
that seems completely fair. Sitch.
In the tag,
why are you bringing him up? Why are we talking about this still? Why haven't we moved on?
Well, because someone's talking about Richard Spencer. In the tag, it seemed like I haven't watched the interview, but in the tag that I did see, he is doubling down and supporting. Okay.
Look, but I haven't watched his show. Maybe he grills him and he like says, "Oh, I've turned over a new leaf and I throw myself on the mercy of the court. I regret everything that I did. I love the Jews. I'm marrying a Jewish woman. Here she is. She's beautiful. She's going to be my wife."
He'd obviously be married to a Jewish man. Okay.
But
Jewish furry. So
I can't. I'm not the type of person. Like if somebody makes, this is what we want to encourage. We want to encourage people to change and to like become better people. So, and the more dramatic the change. I mean, I got to admit, this is embedded in Christianity because it's like the more dramatic the change, the more people love it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They went from being like a murderous, genocidal dictator to, some Mother Teresa type.
Right.
Although you can't bring up Mother Teresa anymore because everyone says, well, it turns out she was like Hitler.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we can move on.
Let's see.
Sounds like he didn't change.
He did not. The Oceanist for $5 says, thank you. Says, unfortunately, I can only watch my phone right now, but I'll use the browser next time to see if it works. Trying to be in the chat more. Well, thank you, Oceanist. We do appreciate it.
That's great.
We appreciate your support. Lisa Strand for $5 says, don't tell the Vikings about pyrotechnics at funerals. There you go. True.
Oh, yeah.
Caleb for $5 says, your chat is indeed more insane than Richard Spencer. Literally all wingnats shit on Spencer now because he voted for Biden and because Spencer has mellowed.
Well, I'm in favor of the mellowing. The thing that's confusing is if you pick someone that's super milk toast and you say, your chat's more insane than this milk toast person, it's not, I mean, okay. Like, I don't really saying anything.
I mean, I'm looking at chat now, and I've been looking at it for the last 20 minutes.
Are they getting crazy?
I do not see white nationalism spewing out of our chat, so I'm going to have to strongly disagree with your assessment on this.
But look, I wouldn't be surprised if Soy Pill makes a video later with these super chats calling you a white nationalist and saying,
there you go.
Because that seems to be what people do.
Right.
Which is unfortunate, obviously. I don't condone that shit, but
anyways.
All right. We made it to the end. Look, and we only had 10 fights. This was a perfect stream. I fight with Sitch more than I fight with my wife, so.
Good. I mean, that's probably healthy, right?
It is. I hope it's the same with you and Sammy. I hope you and Sammy don't fight as much as we fight.
The only thing I've ever fought with Sammy with has all been political stuff.
That's what I was going to say. It's all Trump, isn't it?
So we've never actually fought about any relationship stuff, which I say is very good. And that's a very healthy thing. That's better. It's better to fight about something stupid like politics.
They say don't talk about politics or religion, but
right.
I just think it's fun to talk about politics, mostly because I don't get triggered by it. So
right.
But I know other people do get triggered about it, and sometimes I feel a little sorry for them.
There you go.
All right. Great stream. Loved it. Had a great time. Hope you guys had a great time. Take care, everyone.
Right.
That's it? You're just going to say right?